Well, hello, everybody. It is March 1st, 2017, a little after 8 o'clock. Was listening a little bit to G-Man's hangout. The link for this hangout is open. It is going to be in the forums. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you guys know where to find it. It's usually in that same place. You can go look for it. Be happy to have you come in. If not, I'm just going to talk for a little bit about how many mistakes and problems they had in G-Man's hangout tonight. I mean, it's just one thing after another. The primary one, however, being that G-Man, again, keeps going to another hangout and keeps misrepresenting my position. I don't think he literally even has the intelligence to or intellectual capability to understand what my position is. He keeps arguing other people's position and keeps on making claims of things that I've never said. The definition I'm using for a atheist is a working definition. It is a definition that's perfectly acceptable based upon Wikipedia. If somebody wants to use another one, I'm fine with that as well. I will use all of gods. If somebody wants to say an atheist is somebody who doesn't believe in God or any gods, including naturalistic, I'm okay with that definition, as long as they're consistent, right? But since I'm using a specific definition to show the flaws in G-Man's arguments, I'm using a very specific definition. It is a more narrow definition. Doesn't mean it's the only one, but it's the one I'm using for this particular argument because it is an acceptable definition. Now, he keeps on saying that I have said that you can believe in God and still be an atheist. Well, he failed to provide evidence of where I've said this, and Jack's not saying out. He continuously provides no evidence to even remotely suggest that I've ever said such a thing, because what that is a contradiction. An atheist is someone, by definition, who doesn't believe in gods. Now, again, if you wanted to find those gods to be naturalistic or non-naturalistic, that's a different argument. I think it was MP, but I could be wrong. Somebody had pointed out in that hangout you just had that just because you accept something that somebody calls God, right? If somebody says, I worship the Son as a God, and you say, okay, you worship that Son as a God. I don't worship as a God, therefore I'm still an atheist. So an atheist still can say, you know what? Yeah, I believe there are naturalistic gods that you believe exist. Doesn't mean that I think they actually exist. You call them whatever you want to call them, but I don't accept them as something as being what I would refer to as a deity. They're still an atheist. So yes, of course, people can be atheist and still say, okay, yeah, you believe there's God. It's like, people think there's gods that are theist. Okay, that doesn't make everybody a theist. It makes atheist still atheist. Also, there's a very good argument that Sokka had pointed out that I am blatantly stealing. Sorry, Sokka, I'm just ripping you totally off. I don't think he's the first one to come up with it, but he just expresses it really well. But the real simple thing is, G-Man, if you ask G-Man what gods he believes in, he'll say he believes in the God of the Bible, right? One God. And you ask him if there's any other gods. Well, he says the Bible says there's other gods, and that's okay. If that's the case, then he's a polytheist. He can no longer be a monotheist. And Christianity is a monotheistic religion. So he's basically saying he's not a Christian if he says that. Now, if he says, well, there are no other gods, and then there's only the Christian gods, like most Christians would say, right? Then all an atheist has to say is, well, I don't believe in all those other gods that you don't also believe in. And I also add just one more, yours. So, I mean, G-Man's argument fails on so many different levels. It's ridiculous. And I think at this point, he's just doing it for show, right? I don't think he even remotely cares if this argument is sound anymore, because this has been obliterated so many different ways, 6 ways of Sunday. A couple other things I wanted to point out on that particular hangout. By the way, people listen. I don't know if I've got anybody paying attention because I'm playing WoW. Yeah, I've been doing it often because I just started leveling some tunes and getting more PvP gear. So yeah, I am spending a little more time on it than I probably should, but whatever. But anyways, Antonio seems to not grasp the basics of Big Bang cosmology. He kept referring to Big Bang cosmology as a starting point. No, Antonio, I don't understand why you have such a failure to understand how science works. The way the Big Bang works, just like any other model, is that we look and we observe things. And we say, okay, the universe is expanding, right? Well, why is the universe expanding? Let's come up with an explanation for it. We'll call it the Big Bang hypothesis at the time. Now let's get evidence to support this hypothesis, or actually more specifically, let's find evidence against it. But the evidence has been overwhelming that the universe is expanding, and the Big Bang model explains that expansion. It also predicts things like the cosmic magnetic wave background radiation, which in the 1960s, I believe it was 65 or 64, 65, I think it was, they discovered, right? It predicted that. It said, oh, look, if this model is true, it should have core predictions, one of which there should be a remnant of the initial rapid inflation. Actually, I think it was the ionization period, where we can see a temperature, a ubiquitous temperature around 273.16 degrees. Again, if I'm a little off, what it is. I'm not bothering to actually look this up, but it's about 273.16, I think. But it should have a temperature that we should see across the board, because that period, that recombination period, is where there used to be a sea of electrons floating around, right? And you also had all these photons being bombarded or interacting with these electrons, and the photons couldn't go anywhere. The universe was opaque. So you have this cloud, kind of like almost like a nebulous cloud that's consisting of highly ionized particles, electrons, and photons. And well, you know what? Was particles at the round, or was that the second recombination? I think it was the second recombination, so I'm going to retract that one. But there's definitely electrons and photons, and these photons couldn't get anywhere. Well, once the temperature started getting lesser and things started changing, then the electrons could combine with those hydrogen ions, right? The plus hydrogen ions, and they formed hydrogen. So at that point, the electrons started decreasing the amount in the universe. Those photons that were now trapped now could escape. And so there's this initial flash of light. That remnant of flash of light, it predicted we would be able to find. It would be ubiquitous, it would be everywhere we look, and to be at a specific temperature. That's the cosmic McRae background radiation. So the model predicted something, and the model is based upon the observation that the universe expanded, and then we try to explain that. There's no initial starting point with the Big Bang. It's not a starting point. It's a conclusion, Antonio. And that model works because it makes successful predictions. It doesn't deal with cosmogony. It doesn't deal with the origin, the initial origin of the universe, the singularity. That doesn't deal with that. It deals with the period after that. And that after is successfully modeled because, as multiple personality correctly pointed out, you can basically regress it and go backwards and say, okay, if the universe is expanded, then at some point it was smaller, right? That's a simple regression. And no, it's not a linear regression. I know this. I understand what linear regression is, but it is a regression. And Tony just keeps on saying that that's a starting point. No. Again, this goes to the problems that all of them have with basic science. They just don't understand how modeling actually works and why we have predictive modeling. The other point would be, by the way, again, the link is on the forum, so if you guys want to come on in. I'll keep checking every so often, but so far nobody's in here and do it. Yeah, I got some people paying attention. But anyways, the other thing that I noticed on that particular hangout was G-Konsciousness. G-Konsciousness kept accessing multiple personality. Let me check my live feed if you guys can't figure out where the link is. 1 second here. Gosh darn it. Yeah, you guys know where I post the link. I post it the same place every time in the forums. So, but I'll send you some of the people asking for it individually. I'll send it to you individually. But just go there to find it. Oh, I don't even have my live feed going. Let me view on my watch page. So give me 1 second. I'll get a G-Konsciousness. Oh, hey, I do have people. Oh my goodness, I got those people on live feed. Hey, Tanya. I'd like to have a conversation with you as well. I don't care about your theological position. I really don't. But I just don't want. I want to see if I can explain to you why their positions are wrong on some other things, right? I mean, if you're interested. If not, that's fine. But I like Tanya, and so I think Tanya, listening to them, picking up such gross misconceptions, I just want to be able to try to help her if possible. So, anyways, what G-Konsciousness did, Tom, did you know where to find the link to get in? Here, I don't want to put it in the live feed. People do try to snipe still. But if you let me message you directly, and then I'll get into G-Konsciousness. So Tanya, Galaxy. Is that what I have you under? Yeah, there you are. Here, Tony, if you want to come in, please come in. We always talk, so come on in. I'd like to have a word with you. No, and CRISPR says I'm not chilling scotch. It's actually somebody has sent me a thing of scotch with a container, but it actually had a beer bottle in it, an imported beer bottle. And by the way, I do like scotch a little chilled, but that's just maybe I'm weird. But it is imported beer. By the way, I'm going to have that in a few seconds here. So if I get up really quickly, I'm actually going to go drink that beer that Richard sent me. But anyways, getting back to G-Konsciousness, he kept misrepresenting what multiple personality was saying. Multiple personality was asked a question, do you accept there's intelligence in nature? And multiple personality correctly said, yes, there's intelligence in nature, meaning we are intelligent, we are humans, we exist in nature. Therefore, by extension, intelligence exists in nature. G-Konsciousness multiple times kept running with this, misunderstanding what he's saying and saying, oh, so you're saying nature's intelligent. No, those are two different things, G-Konsciousness. Multiple personality never said nature was intelligent. He just said there's intelligence in nature. Again, I understand that these words have lost context on the clown car apostasy. They really don't understand context. This is why G-Man butchers my arguments so much. Again, I have never said, nor would I ever say, that you can believe in God, and I do mean a supernatural God, and still be an atheist. If you want to change that, again, by extension, to say you can't believe in any God, including natural, that's fine too. That's using a different definition of atheism, which discounts the existence of any God, natural or otherwise. And those people would have to hold that there are no natural gods and that people just call things natural, but they're not actually gods. And that's fine too. That's a very acceptable position. I'm happy with either one you want to go with, to be honest with you. I don't really care. But it depends on your definition. Under my definition, which is, again, perfectly fine, you cannot accept a supernatural God and be an atheist, right? So it's a matter of how you want to define things. And I try to explain this to G-Man, that I can define anything into existence, and by that definition, make an argument for it. Doesn't mean it's a good argument, right? He's using a definition that's just completely trivial about what it means to be a God or a deity. Because I think that most people understand when they're talking about a God, they're going to mean something supernatural, which leads me to another point that I thought was very awkward. G-Man actually, I think, again, disproved Christianity, or at least his version, because he kept on saying that Jesus was not supernatural. Well, okay, if he had multiple traits, if he was had dual natures, I think Veckel said that, which is a consistent position with Christianity. Veckel was right, that Christ would have dual natures. That inherently is beyond the natural. Inherently beyond the natural, which means that Jesus would be under the supernatural thing. Since he had dual natures, he did hunger, he did crap like everybody else, right? According to most Christian theology. G-Man's version of Christianity is very odd. He actually doesn't think that he's supernatural, even though he can do supernatural things, right? He can change water into wine, he can walk on water, but that to him isn't supernatural. So I don't even know what version of Christianity he's using, but it's none that I've ever heard before, and I don't know why any Christian would actually say that Jesus was not supernatural. If I can get a Christian in here that wants to elaborate and expound upon his particular position of why he thinks Jesus is not supernatural, I really like to know. But anyways, here, Wayne says, I'm teaching Christians theology. No, I'm not teaching anybody anything. I'm just explaining common sense things. I mean, these are not that complicated. Okay, I'm a simple person, to be honest with you. It doesn't take a great mind to see the flaws in G-Man and the Clown Car Posse's lines of reasoning. They're just so egregious, right? Wayne, the link to get in is on the forums, so please come in. And Tom and Shadow, just go through the forums. You know which forums I'm talking about, and the link to join us is in there. I'm switching back and forth because, like I said, I'm just leveling another tune and listening. I got to run some RPGs tonight eventually. We're going for rating. I'm trying to push 1900 rating, which is pretty good, right? If you play WoW. People are starting to realize that I am a very good mage. They're literally asking me all the time to come join their groups because I'm pretty good. just leave it at that. I'm not quite pro, but I've been playing for 10 years, so I've got some skills, and I'm usually self-deprivating. So when I'm saying I'm actually pretty good at something, I'm actually being serious. I'm pretty good at it.
You kick some ass in it, huh?
Kick some ass in it. I mean, I'm clutch. And mage is a hard class to play because it's pretty squishy. So a well-played mage is pro, and they're very devastating if played correctly. But again, like anything else, you have to.
A quick question: Did you guys did you hear G-Man say Jesus wasn't supernatural? It's like
yes, I heard him say that. Yeah,
I didn't understand that.
I was like, what the?
God, this is that he's not supernatural. I was like, what? Huh?
What I think might have happened is I think he went down the rabbit hole so deep that he was willing to say anything just trying to win the argument. But who knows? I mean, but I would love for a Christian to come in here and tell me that G-Man accepts your version of Christianity. Since G-Man now acknowledges in his worldview, in his Christianity, that Jesus Christ is not supernatural, how many Christians out there agree with that? I really would like to know.
And everybody in the room agreed with that, which I know they did, but they were just saying that they agreed with it just to I think, have an argument. But
Veckel didn't agree with that. I didn't hear Veckel agree with that. Veckel seemed to not agree with it, but I mean, I could be wrong.
I know it seemed like everybody was like in agreement with that. I'm like, well, I don't know. Right, raising from the dead is pretty supernatural to me.
I would agree with that.
Other people, like, oh yeah,
yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Being raised from the dead would be pretty supernatural.
I watched your discussion earlier. It's so, at least you had it moderated, because it's actually really tough to try to. And he answered none of your questions, which is kind of funny.
What about it?
No, I said he answered absolutely none of your questions. Absolutely none of your questions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And by the way, like I said, I really like people to come in. I can't really swap between what I'm doing and the live feed, so I can check it every so often. But I really would like you guys to come in and join us. But anyways, yeah, thank you for watching that. People have been like telling me that I definitely won. It wasn't really a debate. It's nothing to win. I mean, G-Man's right. It's not. I shouldn't say I won, but I at least pointed out the problems that G-Man has in basic argumentation. He doesn't know how to have a discussion. He doesn't know how to answer arguments. He will diverge to something else. He will digress. He will continually misrepresent people and take things out of context. That's how they do it. And I've been consistent from day one. My argument is very simple, very, very basic. Doesn't take that much of a genius to figure it out. I'm going by the position that I think we all understand colloquially, that when somebody says you don't believe in God, you're talking about a supernatural being. If you want to sit there and qualify, what do you mean by God, and get down that route, then you start falling into more of an atheist type position, right? Because an atheist would be like, well, what do you mean by God? Correct?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I understand an atheist position, and it's to some degree too, because theological cosmology is very close to that. So, but I think that kind of moots the actual argument. If I have to sit there and say, okay, what do you mean by God? I mean, that's just, it's trivial to do every single time. So I think it's just generally accepted that when somebody says, do you believe in God, they're talking about a supernatural being. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. But don't get me wrong. If we're having a conversation, and I say I'm defining the term as X, and if you accept my definition for the purposes of having a conversation, then the debate should be over about what that word means. G-Man just chose not to accept your version of it. He kept trying to make you defend a definition that you didn't even give. So that seemed to be the whole conversation, really.
Which was really weird because the definition I was using was right out of Wikipedia. It wasn't like I was using some kind of obscure reference, right? It was the first line in Wikipedia of theism, and then I'm just using the opposite, which is the rejection of that. And yes, there are multiple definitions of atheism you can go find, but they all kind of definitely imply a lack of belief in a deity. Oh, excuse me, they all imply not a lack of belief. I don't want to say that because G-Man's words. They all imply that somebody doesn't believe in a supernatural God. Now, can you extend that by extension to non-natural gods? Sure, if you want to, right? Mm-hmm. But that's not required.
Yeah, but I think G-Man's argument, because G-Man was being overly broad with his definition. I think what he was saying is by saying theism means almost any perceivable God that he can think of, or any defining anything as a God, then that's what he's trying to.
Okay, then G-Man's a polytheist, though.
Yeah,
if G-Man accepts his other gods, he is by definition a polytheist, because a polytheist is someone who accepts multiple gods, more than one God. So
his definition of God is anything that is worshipped.
then
That's
he's
his
a
definition of God.
polytheist, right?
Yes. Anything that is worshipped would be considered a god.
Yeah. So
Technically,
you agree
You know what's funny, Steve? What do you say?
Oh, I was gonna say real quick. You agree that he's a polytheist, and by the way, Altai, it just started a few minutes ago, but it started off pretty well. If you want to watch the beginning, and, Altai, if you can watch the discussion I had with G-Man on Drag's channel, fascinating. Get inside the mind of G-Man is just, it's like La La Land. I mean, he never once answered a direct question. He kept trying to diverge to other things. Dragna did a wonderful job moderating. And just pointing out the fact that G-Man doesn't know how to have an actual discussion, and I think it kind of showed. But go ahead, Wayne.
No, I was just gonna say, so I believe in other, I guess, divine beings or deities. I guess Americans would call them gods, but like ancient Near Eastern people, they would just think of it as divine beings, because when Americans say God, like you said, Steve, they think about like this all powerful, almighty deity, which is funny because person, actually the word for God or divine being is Elohim, right? And so
Elohim,
an ancient person, when you
actually,
said if you were to,
Elohim is plural, if you didn't know.
Right.
Yeah, so Elohim means gods.
Right. And so, but in their mind, right, like they would have thought about and Elohim wouldn't just be the God; it would be any divine being. Like if you died, Steve, and I don't know, you went to heaven, you would be in Elohim. So I guess in that sense, I do believe in other divine beings. I don't think God or Jesus are. I don't think they're the only divine beings that exist. But I think that Yahweh, he's the most unique out of all the other Elohims. So I wouldn't say I'm a polytheist.
Yeah, because those are called the council of gods, right?
Right.
Yeah, but see, I don't want to call all Christians polytheist, okay? Because I don't believe that they are. I believe that Christians are monotheist. They believe in one God. They accept that there are other things that they might reference as gods, right? But they're naturalistic. You say that you believe in supernatural gods. That would fall into polytheism. I'm sorry, but it does. But for modern mainstream Christianity, they are monotheist, right? So I think that most of them are monotheists. I think G-Man, however, using his style of argumentation, places him as a polytheist. That's my point, because if he wants to acknowledge the God's existence, that you can't get around that fact. That is polytheism.
I just want to acknowledge that G-Man is a heretic. He doesn't think that Jesus is supernatural.
Yeah, let me ask about that, Wayne. As a Christian, what is that?
That's
Have
crazy.
you ever heard a Christian say that?
No, because it's not true. How can somebody be fully human and fully God and not be supernatural?
I have no idea. I'm at a loss. It's just not to me. I mean, he says that he gets wrapped up so much in the argument that I don't think half the time he knows what the fuck he's saying. Right? I mean,
are you guys sure?
Weird. Yes.
Are you guys sure he didn't have a slip of the tongue?
No. Well, he repeated
I asked him
about it.
I asked him multiple times. Are you sure? Is this what it is? Or is Jesus not? Yes. He kept saying, no, he's not supernatural. No.
Yeah,
wow,
that's very clear.
That's very new to me.
By the way, I did bring up your name today, Odian.
Yeah.
Because I kept pointing out in the discussion I had with G-Man that G-Man hasn't learned jack shit from Ronnie. He even admitted he doesn't care. Which was kind of funny. I'm like, wait a minute. So you're supporting Ronnie, but you don't care whether his argument's true or false. That tells me all I need to know about your level of intellectual honesty.
So he's just purely supporting him simply because he's a Christian, basically.
Yeah. I mean, shit, in our great debate community, we'll tear each other up if we think somebody else is wrong, right? I mean, we don't give a shit whether they're atheist, theist, or they're best friends. I'm sure Dragnot would come after me if I said something completely stupid just as much. I'd probably go, hey, Dragnot, I don't know if that's really the case. That's just the way it is. We don't mind. None of us mind for that, right? But I'm not going to support somebody when they're completely wrong. But even if I supported things like Thaddeus, it doesn't mean I agree with Thaddeus across the board. but his argumentation was correct. That's the whole point. He was right from his perspective.
Well, I find that to be very strange. I mean, sure, even, I mean, if you and someone share the same political beliefs, if they're saying something that's wrong, you should be able to correct them, or, you know, be okay to disagree with them. I don't think I've ever heard any of them disagree with anything, ever, really.
No, they don't really, do they? Yeah, that's true. They really never say, oh, well, yeah, you're not right. I mean, maybe occasionally they will, but very, very rarely.
Like unicorn. Like
Well, this whole
search
thing about Jesus not being supernatural, I think that's a first. I don't think I've ever heard any Christian ever say that before.
Couldn't G-Man argue that Jesus is part of the natural world, is not supernatural, he's something real and tangible, and therefore is not supernatural? I mean,
I've heard intelligent design advocates for that.
Doubt.
Yeah, I've heard intelligent design advocates say that everything is natural, right? God included. But then again, if you do that, the problem is that there's no differentiation for what we mean by supernatural, right? So it's just basically a non-useful way of looking at things because there's no line of demarcation. And no, Tanya, we did not misunderstand him. He was very clear on that. You were in that hangout. He said, right, Tanya, that Jesus was not supernatural, correct?
I don't know. I wasn't listening like 90% of the time. Did he really though?
We were.
He really said that? Like
yes. Yes. Yeah.
Maybe he missed
before he deletes it. Somebody go download that video before he deletes it.
I can't imagine he would. If you were to ask him that again, I bet he would be like,
Wait a minute, he did ask him. He asked him, how many times did you ask him? Are you sure you mean that?
Oh, God. Well, then he's wrong. Well, I mean, how can he be a Christian? I mean, yeah, that's...
Because G-Man's more interested in trying to win an argument and entertainment than actually being consistent.
Yeah.
I mean, he literally is the most duplicitous guy in this community, I think. We pointed this out numerous times. He doesn't care about an honest dialogue.
Yeah, I think it's probably just a case where he probably made a mistake and decides to just double down on it or something.
Well, that's kind of famous for what they do. They do double down a lot.
Yeah,
hey,
so
Johnny, I wanted to... Oh, go ahead.
Like, so instead of just like taking the correction and just like moving the conversation along, it just kind of stuck to it and just went with it, even though it makes absolutely no sense.
Because, like I said, I think that's an absurd position for Christianity. I mean, if he went to like Matt Slick. Matter of fact, I can ask Matt Slick. We should. Hey, Matt Slick, D-Man says Jesus isn't supernatural. Do you agree with him? Because he idolizes Matt Slick, right? But hey, Tanya, see, I want you to know something. Nobody really cares, and I don't mean this to be offensive. It's not by any means. I just don't take it that way. But nobody cares if you're an atheist or theist in this community. You do realize that, right? We only care about the arguments. If you want to accept your positions, from a theistic standpoint, by all means. Nobody really cares, I don't think. G-Man thinks it's such a big deal, and I don't understand why, right? I mean,
Steve, hold on, before you go on, just so everybody can hear the exact, I put the timestamp in his hangout in the chat for his hangout. So right under it, you can.
If somebody could play that on here, that would be just swell.
Yeah, I gotta hear this.
Somebody did send me a video card. Thank you, Richard. I'm getting a cable for it because it's all DVI and HDMI. So I'm getting a cable for it, but hopefully this new video card might solve a little of my problems because again, my computer is so crashy. It reminds me, I'm gonna go get the beer that he drank or he sent me to drink. But can you cue that up and let's listen to that? I mean, I want that to be noted quite clearly that G-Man doesn't accept the supernatural position of most Christians. I found all Christians that Jesus was supernatural. I said, I'm checking the live feed before I go get my beer. Dude said, Steve just dismissed every theist capable of doing real science as being something. I don't know what that word is. No, I think that people that are can do absolutely great science. We have a lot. I mean, there's been so many theistic scientists, they all do wonderful science, but they leave their theism at the door, right? They don't bring in their position, starting point, as Antonio would say. Let's start with the position young Earth creationism is true. That's what they do. They start with that position. They don't finalize
Oh
that
my
position.
gosh! If people did that, we would all be dead. Just
yeah.
I'm gonna keep saying that.
Yeah, and when you ask somebody like like Antonio, hey, look at the observations. What do we observe when we look at the Earth and the universe? We observe an old Earth. We observe a old universe, right? And even Todd Wood, who's a doctor in biology, young Earth creationist, right? He acknowledges we observe old stuff. We observe evolution. He just takes it on faith alone that he can't explain it, that the Earth is young. That's a kind of a contradiction of positions to me, but at least he acknowledges the evidence, right? These guys aren't even smart enough to acknowledge the actual evidence. That's the problem.
Hey, you guys ready for the audio?
Yeah, can you give me 30 seconds where I go grab a beer so I can go enjoy it?
Hey, before you go get your beer, can you broadcast Shadow and Doc real quick?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
thank you, sir.
Yeah, like I said, I'm really not looking at the chat. Give me 1 second here, guys, and I will do that for you. 1 second. Okay. Let me give you guys mods too. Okay.
Oh yeah, did you send a link to General?
Did I send a link to General? No.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's here.
You get mods, and you get mods, and you get mods. Everybody gets mods. Tawny gets mods. Yay!
You're the Oprah of mods.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
So I mean, we have a theist in here. I mean, General's a theist. So, all right, let me go get my beer, and then we'll cue that up. Sound good? Awesome.
Yeah. We'll wait for you to get back.
Yeah, I have to figure out a new place to put them because I have coffee bar behind me now.
Coffee sounds so good right now.
I'm brewing a fresh pot that holds 40 cups. You'd be welcome to it. But
Wow, nice.
You guys have just made me want to go get some tea. Be right back.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some tea too.
I have like a killer fucking headache too, and I think it was that hangout.
G-Man gives everyone a headache. Yeah,
it was so bad, and I think caffeine might help me. I might go make a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
It wasn't that bad. It was it is what it is. You're not gonna get anything more from that.
It takes so long to just say something in there. You know what I mean? Like it took an hour and a half to make the simplest point. You know what I mean?
Oh.
That's what drives me crazy.
Who?
In G-Man's hangout tonight.
No, but who made it? Who took that long to make a point?
Most of the Christians in there.
By the way, I was wrong. My beer isn't imported; it's domestic from New York. But damn, it is freaking good. Thank you, Richard. Holy cow! Okay, let's listen to him again.
You guys ready? Hold on.
Yeah, we're ready. Are you playing it?
One second.
you got it muted.
You're saying Jesus wasn't God. Let me make this very clear.
Supernatural. So you're saying that Jesus was supernatural then?
I believe Jesus was God. I don't know if maybe that's not the Christian view, but that's what I assume the Christian view was. The divinity of Jesus. Jesus is God. He's a version.
Christians use Jesus as two natures.
Yeah, and Jesus
is Jesus God? No, yes or no?
He fell asleep. He did all these other things. We're in multiple personalities because right now you're ducking right now, okay? I want to know specifically, was Jesus supernatural or was he a human being? Yes or no?
If Jesus was God, yes, he must be supernatural. If you say he was not God, then he was.
I'm sorry. Let's get the Bible here, man. Let's go to Matthew chapter 4 real quick. Okay? I want to read something. You say he was supernatural. Okay, that means that. And I'm assuming that you're using the definition about supernatural being something that can't.
You know, 10 Christians. If we were to ask 10 Christians this question, do you think they would say he wasn't supernatural?
Wait a minute. I'm not going to let you do that. I want to read something to you on the Bible. I want you to deal with it and tell me how this is supernatural.
Go ahead.
Okay? And I want to know what definition you're using when we do it. We're not asking 10 Christians anything. Okay? I want to read something here in the book of Matthew, chapter 4. And don't try to say that this is my own personal interpretation. Don't say that this is anything because it's going to be pretty cut and dry here.
So when you read it, Don't say this is what it says. When you read it, that's it. Stop and just.
And that's all I'm going to do, because I know you don't like theology when it comes to atheism. Because when we start talking about atheism, no theology with that either.
No, just read it. Read the verse.
Okay, hold on a minute. I'm trying to find it. But we're gonna talk about when Jesus was tempted in the garden, when Jesus was tempted in the wilderness.
So I'm just saying, my position is that I assume that Christians believe Jesus was God. He was divine. He was supernatural. He was able to raise from the dead. That's why his blood washes away our sin. Jesus was God. Now, that's what I thought the Christian position is.
I want to read this because I know why you're ducking this, okay? But I want to read this, and then you're going to know why I titled the hangout the way I did, okay? Then was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward hungered. How does a supernatural being get hungry?
It's not for me to know. I'm not God.
He has two natures. It's possible.
Yeah, but if you, all right. So hold on. So was he God or was he not God? I'm not understanding. Are we saying is Veckel, is your view also that Jesus is not supernatural? Because G-Man's question was, do I believe
on this one? I can tell you that now.
No,
I know.
No, I'm asking. I'm confused now because I always assumed he was. This guy, we're talking about somebody who rose from the dead after 3 days of being killed. I call that supernatural.
Multiple personalities. Right now, multiple. You're not going to cause confusion in here. Okay? Jesus Christ was 100% human and 100% God. Back was going to tell you the same thing, that he had two natures. All right? My question was not how many natures he had. I asked you, was he supernatural? Yes or no? The answer is clearly no, because he got hungry. Okay? Now,
so that's
it. There you go. Now, here's what I want to comment on that real quick. Thank you for playing that, because that's just dead on. Two things. One, I actually think Veckel was the only one that made sense in that. I know you guys might chastise for me on that, but Veckel, I'm fine with somebody saying he has two natures, right? You know, I get that. I get the concept, right? May not be that perfectly able to understand that, but because it is, you know, something on
He
faith.
gave proper theology, and that's the
proper
point.
theology, right? Thank you for better wording that. So I think Veckel was correct, but G-Man, wow, Tanya, do you think we misunderstood him? I mean, seriously?
I do slightly, because he
really,
well, he did say that that Jesus was fully man and fully God. So because he said fully God as well, that means he has a contradiction. Because
hang on.
Supernatural.
I think it's less that you understood him and more that he misunderstood himself.
Allow me to share what I think why he got confused. I think he, to be very accurate, he should have said, do you hold to the view of Jesus? That's the Gnostic, non-fleshy view of Jesus. So he's just purely supernatural, like a spirit person. If G-Man was emphasizing that point, then yeah, he's correct, trading between the two natures and the docetic view. But if he wasn't thinking docetism, then he's confused.
Well, this is the problem, is that you have to get into his head with a chainsaw, a router, and a melon baller to try and figure out what he's actually thinking.
Well, in his discussion with Steve, he kept trying to drive home when Steve was asking, what would you call somebody who doesn't believe in any supernatural deities? And he says supernatural, kept trying to say that supernatural meant you can't see it. So he thinks natural means you can see it, supernatural means unseen.
So he's confusing supernatural with transcendent then.
I don't even know where to go with that, to be honest with you, Doctor. I mean, I was quite clear in when I was telling him. He's used that before too. He keeps on thinking that supernatural somehow means unseen. That's not what it means. Supernatural can be seen. I mean, does he think that God is not supernatural?
Well, right? That's the point that he's driving home, is that when God is on earth walking around, he's natural because you can see him. People could walk up, touch him, and do all these. You could basically just empirically verify his existence.
But
that's not what natural or
that goes back to
supernatural
the two
means.
natures, right?
But hold on. But that wouldn't be accurate because let's say Paul's, for instance, Paul's conversion on the road to Damascus. At that point, Jesus was spirit. He was at that point he was 100% supernatural. He wasn't, I think, a human being. So at that point, he was supernatural.
But G-Man specifically refers to when Jesus is alive and walking around, though.
I think Beckel had it right. I mean, that goes to the Christian belief of two natures, right? Which is more along the lines of what every Christian I've ever talked to.
Well, he was in the person of Jesus. He was both natural and supernatural. Would have been a fair response, but that's not where he went.
Yeah, that would be a fair response. But he clearly said he is not supernatural because he got hungry.
Yeah,
Right.
Odeon, that thing with Paul's experience, John, writing post-resurrection, says that if you believe that Jesus has come in the flesh, and then he adds this point, so then you're not an antichrist. So in Christian theology, especially in the early church, they believe that Jesus remained, quote unquote, in a fleshy form.
And that's the part where they're addressing the Gnostics, and he says that there's a way to know whether somebody's an actual Christian or not, right?
Yep. So
that's a verse that G-Man does not understand.
Right. So that led us specifically with respect to the Docetic view. And so when Jesus, again, in Christian theology, it's a fleshy Jesus. There's no other way around it.
But at the same point, if you're able to cure blindness with mud and you're able to heal lepers with a touch and what have you and raise the dead, you're clearly supernatural as well as being a physical entity.
Right.
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, it wasn't exclusive. It should have been just both.
Yeah, I can hear.
So, my question would be this: is there any possible way for a human being to actually experience the supernatural?
Yes. Why not?
How? Well, how? Give me an example.
You have to start with the basis that supernatural exists, right? But even
if it does, you can start with that. Tell me how you
a miracle would be a supernatural event, right?
Well, how? But okay, so give me a miracle.
I can give an example. I can give an example. You're walking through the desert, clouds come over, and manna rains from heaven to feed your people.
Okay, how is that supernatural?
Because it was done by a deity rather than natural.
Because food doesn't rain from the sky.
No,
it does not magically rain from the sky.
Right, you're assuming that though, right? Because you don't know, if aliens are flying over and dropping manna on you. You how can you possibly say that is the supernatural? All I'm saying is you can only experience.
I see your argument, but I can actually explain it. For example, if we would all agree though that it has to have some kind of line of demarcation about differentiates natural from supernatural, right?
Sure.
Now, coming back from the dead after being literally dead, let's say, you're bones, right? You are literally bones. Would you say that coming back from that type of state would fall under any naturalistic explanation that we have?
Not that I'm aware of, but that doesn't
mean naturalistic causes that we are unaware of. Yeah.
That we are aware of.
Yeah, let me finish. Okay. At that time, it's considered to be supernatural, right?
Sure.
Because we don't have any naturalistic explanation. If we do find a explanation, then it would fall into naturalism. God himself would be the same way. I do agree that if God existed, I know you're going to hate me for this, but if God existed and he actually existed in our natural realm, I don't have a problem with people calling that naturalistic.
I don't have a problem with that either. Yeah.
So, because we're dealing with what we understand to be based upon natural laws, right? Of course, anything once we understand it and it falls into nature, we can make it natural. But God himself, I think everybody would conclude, is a supernatural being. Now, if you want to say that he's natural because he falls in the natural universe, I'm okay with that as well. As long as you're consistent in your argumentation. The problem with G-Man is he's not consistent.
No, I know, Steve. I'm not even claiming that. I agree. If God is natural, that's awesome. Then we actually can experience him. I'm just saying there's no way for a human being that can only experience the natural world around them, there's no way for them to directly experience the supernatural.
How about this? It's a subjective claim. It's a subjective thing whether you want to accept.
Yeah, you have to infer the supernatural from the natural experience that you had that you can't explain.
I agree with you on that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is why I use a different definition of supernatural.
Ah, okay.
Okay, I was expecting multiple to jump back in there. The definition I tend to use is what we refer to as a supernatural is anything that we do not yet have an explanation for.
A lot of people would hate that.
Yeah.
I don't accept that. 'Cause
A lot
dark
of
matter, we
people
don't-
do hate it.
Yeah, we don't have a full explanation of what dark matter really is, but we
Doesn't
know
make it
exists, but
supernatural.
we understand it's naturalistic. I think it's these arbitrary word games of what people mean by supernatural and natural. It just falls, in the line of philosophy more than science, right? These are people sitting around in chairs drinking, sipping scotch and smoking a cigar, going, "What do we mean by supernatural?"
Oh,
Well,
they're not just sitting around smoking cigars and sipping scotch. They're borderline in straitjackets.
Probably.
Why I use that definition, though, is because every time we've investigated something that was once regarded as supernatural, we figured how the hell it works, and it's no longer in that classification. So to me, it's here's your unexplained. We use this word to describe the unexplained. Then we figure it out. Okay, fine, we got an answer.
I agree with you, right?
Yeah,
But if there's a heaven, if there's a life after death, wait one sec. If there's a life after death, there's a heaven, right? It's arbitrary whether you want to call that supernatural or natural, because at that point, it's natural because everybody accepts it, right? It's part of reality, but it's still supernatural because it's not part of this particular realm that we call reality, right? Heaven is not supposed to be existing, coextensively with us, right? Contemporary, can't even talk. Beers are kicking in. In the same realm as us. Heaven's a higher plane of existence, right? That's what you would call supernatural.
Well,
that makes sense.
I wouldn't call that I wouldn't call that natural. Like if we're all dead and in heaven, I wouldn't say that we're in a natural place, because then you're just using natural to mean we're in the norm.
But that's your norm. And the norm is now natural, right? The supernatural is now normative.
I would say that's a different use of the word natural.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. That's why this is a word game of what do you want to define as is natural and supernatural. Right?
Like living in heaven for eternity would be a different reality altogether. So you can have all new words then. I mean,
yeah, that's true too.
I mean,
yeah.
The words we know now would have different meanings.
So Doc, what did you think about the discussion I have with G-Man, by the way?
I think you're a masochist.
I know. You know what? I did it. I'm not saying I did it a favor to Drag, but I did it as a favor to Drag. I mean, Drag's like, "Hey, G-Man's just going ape shit to me on Skype or something," and I'm like, "What now?" I just responded like one thing to him. He's like, "Oh, Jesus." I'm like, "Well, fuck it. Yeah, start it up. I'll be happy to join in." And
it was interesting because it's fun watching G-Man because you don't really know exactly what he's getting at, and you're trying to understand where he's coming from. What's the argument that he's presenting? Like it took maybe 2 months when he was running his answered prayer argument for people to actually get down to what it was he was actually trying to express. And tonight we saw a bit more of it. It's kind of just peeling back layers of his reasoning, and you just get more baffled the further down you go.
I think you missed the words lack of.
Hey, can I also point out something to Beta in the live feed there? By the way, Beta, you need to drop in here because it's very hard to have a conversation with you when you're just in the live feed. But I want you to know something, and you can validate this. This is not bullshit. Rand Campbell is a Poe. Rand Campbell has been in this community a long time. He's very well known by a lot of people. He actually goes out of his way to try to convince people the Earth is flat, right? He's a flat earther. So if you accept flat Earth, I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, he's a flat earther, and he's also, well, he actually, I shouldn't say that. He pretends to be a flat earther. He's a Poe. He's not even a real Christian. He actually is an atheist. He doesn't believe in any of this stuff, and he's actually told people numerous times all he likes doing is convincing people of bullshit, because he is actually a certifiable con man. Not a joke. He's admitted this. He's a scammer. If you watch some of his other videos, he's claimed to have quote to have cut out, been swallowed whole by a, what was it a python or was it a anaconda? Python, wasn't it? In Africa, but the problem is pythons
It
don't
could have
exist
been
in
a
Africa.
garter snake with him, and no one would.
I think it was a python because the thing was that the pythons don't exist. I don't remember if it's anacondas or pythons don't exist in Africa. But somebody had pointed out to him, "Hey, your story doesn't make much sense because they don't exist in Africa." He's like, "Oh, it was an escape one from a zoo."
Actually, in regards to that specific video that you're talking about, just prior to him posting it, he sent a message saying, "Wait till you get a load of this one. I wonder how many of these idiots buy this shit."
Yeah, I mean, so Beta, you have to understand you're being misled by Rand Campbell because he is a fucking Poe. We all know this. You're new to the
Was
community.
this the guy that was in the G-Man hangout?
Yeah,
that
yeah,
I was
he's a
in?
total
The old
scam
guy?
artist. He just likes to fuck with people and get these people to believe bullshit. That's his whole thing that he does around here. That's what he's
Well,
done. For a
that
very long
and because he is a Canadian citizen, and his mother is somewhat well known a couple years back. It's actually fairly easy to confirm everything you just said.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I'm not.
Canadians are all Poes?
Well, he says he lives in the Dominican Republic now, but I don't know if that's true or not. That I can't validate.
That was the guy I was speaking to in G-Man's hangout, right? Name sounds
Yeah, real deep voice. Sounds like he smokes cigarettes.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like
I
he
actually
smokes.
get
Them. It
along
sounds
with
like he just
The
eats.
trees. He was making some argument. The trees were conscious. I was like, what?
Yeah, exactly. He'll say any goddamn stupid shit, right? Because he just wants to see how far you can go with these people still believe in this bullshit. I've had conversations with Rand. I actually, in some weird way, like the guy, except for the fact that I think he's a dishonest piece of shit because he's doing this for fun and misleading people. And I think that's. And I've asked him, when are you ever going to pull the trigger on this, right? I've asked him numerous times. At some point, you have to have the big reveal saying, that he doesn't actually buy into any of this bullshit. But he's having so much fun. Why would he, right?
When we're off air, Rand and I will sit there and bullshit and talk about whatever. But the moment we go on air, it's game on.
Yeah, yeah. And this is no big secret of me, like telling people this because he's actually said before that. Well, who the hell is going to believe anybody, right? If I sit there and tell you guys, and other people have said, Rand has specifically said that he's pulling, this post shit. They're not going to believe us, right? Because they want to believe him for some strange reason, rather than look at, even watch his older videos where he said this.
I don't know. I do think Rand is a troll, but I mean, I try to distinguish between a Poe and a troll, and a Poe troll. I think Poe troll. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, some people are. I mean, they're honest about their beliefs, but then they're just jerks because they're just trying to get it right. And I think that's what Rand's position is. I think he's honest in what he's saying, at least in terms of believing in Christ as divine. But he's absolutely a troll. He just comes in to ruin conversations and shit disturb and create drama and draw attention to himself. If anyone is a Poe, do we know Beta Orbiter?
He's just in the live feed. He never actually comes in.
I know, but is he like? I mean, come on. I sort of see he says some of the things that but then Matt Bell, Shamos, and Darth Dawkins are the trinity of ultimate Google plus theist apologists. Sorry, that is not something.
You really wrote that?
Oh my God. Yeah, I did. Yeah, that doesn't come from a sane mind, or it's somebody who's, if he is a Poe, he's done the thing now that tips his hand that he's just pretending.
I don't know who he is. Like I said, I just addressed some of his comments, but he asked, why does Rand Campbell do this? It's not for monetary gain. Simple. He's even said why he does it. He enjoys it. He does it for entertainment, same way as we all do.
He likes to fight. He likes to argue
about what we believe.
I mean, that's the thing is, generally speaking, like I was saying, I mean, Rand and I get along fine until we go on air.
Yeah.
Because we know once we're on air, there's a game we play.
Yeah. No, Rand is fun to talk to. He's welcome in here anytime, right? I mean, I got to admit, there's something just kind of jovial about him. And, he's a likable guy when he's not being a complete dipshit Poe.
The funny thing is when he did that whole Randism thing a while ago, he did that to troll the Calvinists. And he admitted that in a hangout that I had with him. He was shocked that the atheists went apeshit over it. When he thought that was fucking hilarious and kept running with it. I mean, that shit damn near broke Botton.
Well, you got to... And like G-Man, there's a couple of guys there that will admit things after the fact that they're actually inventing, right? So it's think of the kid on the schoolyard that trips over his own feet and falls flat in his face and gets up and dusts himself off and goes, "Yeah, I meant to do that." Right? I mean, there's a lot of stupid things that G-Man does, and he'll go, "Oh, well, I was doing that to prove a point." And I think Rand does the same thing.
Atheist thing.
Well, yeah, I don't know if that's the best example.
It's a good example because he was pretty stupid in how he went about that to try to disprove the Scotsman fallacy.
It's in there. Yeah, it's in there, but I'm looking for, well, because that one he goes, well, I shouldn't have done that. So I'm looking for one where he's done something just so obviously dumb, but then double down on it. And he's like, I meant to do this because, my plan all along was this. And then he'll say a phrase. One of my favorite phrases from G-Man is when he says, oh, I know what I'm doing. It's just that always precedes or immediately follows him doing something incredibly stupid.
Well, let me ask Beta. Is Beta a flat earther? Because I really got to know. Because obviously Rand Campbell tries to promote flat Earth, right? I don't think he really is, but whatever. Actually, I know he's not. But him and Arcane Logos, right? He's a flat earther as well. And they're both supposedly telling Beta Orbiter and these guys that they're Christian. They don't have a problem with this. I mean, they don't see the problem with this Poe of people saying, "Oh, I'm Christian, but the Earth is flat."
No. I think they occasionally argue about it, and then now I think they've come to an agreement that, okay, we're not going to argue about it anymore because there's just too much tension. Like Bible Thumping Wingnut went into a hangout and argued with Arcane and Pillbox was super rude to him. And I think the group of them, like, now G-Man has just 100% hard and fast rule. You are not going to, you say the word flat Earth, even if you're using it as an example for something, he's like, we're not talking about that here. We're not debating that. And he just wigs out about it. So I think
he's not interested in truth, right?
What's that? Oh, well, yeah, but I think he also, I think what the evangelicals have recognized is that, well, look, we all believe in Jesus, we all hate atheists and gays, we all don't believe in evolution, and then there are the crazy ones who also believe the Earth is flat. So just to not sort of create a divide over that one issue, we're all going to label this a non-essential issue, and we just won't talk about it anymore. And there seems to have been a pretty sudden change. I'd put it probably about 2 months ago, where they just all of a sudden, well, now, no, we're not going to debate this publicly. We're not going to talk about it. And anytime it does come up, they always do refer to it as a non-essential, because as I pointed out with the evangelicals, they are focused on the essentials. And of course, there's really only one essential, and that is that you hate atheists. Yeah,
it's not even about Christ anymore, right? It's not even Christ-centered or God-centered. Yeah. It's a matter of, oh, you hate atheists? Okay, you're one of us.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they'd welcome in somebody like Brett Keane, I don't know or care what his position is on the shape of the Earth, but he's a God believer, and he doesn't know.
This week.
For now. Yeah, this week. But like he's unfamiliar with John chapter 3, or the very very famous John 3:16 and 17. He's unfamiliar with that, or what it might mean, or what that whole story is about with Jesus and Nicodemus. Doesn't know any of that stuff, but he does know that atheists are stupid. So they, big warm hug. He's on their team.
Be Skippy.
Well, there are a couple things to that. First is, it's very odd that you'd say that, well, they have to hate gays, because Antonio assured me today that he doesn't have any negative feelings towards homosexuals at all.
I throw the bullshit flag on that one. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, then I linked him to one of his own hangouts called the LGBT Mafia, which is a delight. But also about Arcane Logos, I'm surprised that Bible Thumping Wingnut went in and argued with him, and that he got such praise from Andrew Rappaport on their show later on, that apparently he's brilliant at presenting the presuppositional argument.
Arcane Logos?
Yeah.
Well, he started off with that. He actually stopped doing the precept because he was so bad at it, and even he recognized he was getting his ass kicked. In fact, even Wyatt,
Andrew Rappaport thinks that he does a wonderful job, that he's probably one of the best people to present it.
Yeah, that's scary. I gotta acknowledge though that Wyatt Minkus hasn't really done any precepts since his thing with King Crocoduck. People ask, why do we have? People ask on my video, why did King Crocoduck bother with Wyatt Minkus? Somebody clearly who was not up to his intellectual level, and I basically explained that it's because he has to understand that he's not good at presenting a precept argument. Some people are better than others. It's still a bad argument, but some are better than others. He's not one of those people, and sometimes it just takes getting your ass handed to you to recognize you have limitations.
Well, it's Wyatt actually does make an effort to improve himself.
I agree.
It's like that's one of the reasons why I like the guy so much.
Wyatt is a wonderful guy. That's why I do try to have conversations with him because I do think he wants to know the truth. I think he's just limited in what his understandings of things are, but he wants to be honest. He doesn't want to lie. You know?
It's not just that, you know, he wants to honestly represent his own position and argue his own position well, as he actually makes a genuine effort to understand other people's positions.
Yes. Yeah, G-Man sure the hell doesn't. I mean, how many times has G-Man still misrepresented what I said? I mean, let me ask Hawkeye, or let me ask Tanya, or anybody else. Have I ever said, you guys have watched my videos, have I ever said that you can accept a belief in a supernatural deity and still be an atheist? No, of course not.
Yes.
You mentioned this.
You'd mentioned this then.
You'd mentioned this a couple days ago. Last time I was in one of your hangouts, you were saying that, you know, because G-Man was really on about this thing, how, well, this is what Steve McRae says, so blah blah blah. And so, where does that come from? Well, just this morning I did listen to the hangout where it was the how did it work now? He had a debate with
Thaddeus.
Thaddeus, right? And then afterwards, Steve said, "Boy, Thaddeus did a pretty good job."
Mm-hmm.
And by you saying that he did a pretty good job, in G-Man's view, that means you agree 100% with 100% confidence with each and every statement that Thaddeus has ever said in his life.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, this is sort of reminiscent of. Yeah, I recognize this because this had happened to me when, and I love this debate. Oh, someone please post a link to this thing because people, I don't care if you've heard it already. Go back and listen to it again. It was so good. G-Man versus atheist, the guy, or agnostic. He shows it, and he's from Jamaica. Oh, come on, help me with the name.
Oh, shit! I do know who you're talking about. He hasn't been around much. He was just on that like a couple times, and he was really good.
He was really good. Yeah, he kept calling G-Man beloved.
Yes,
easy beloved. It was so good, but
I don't remember his name, to be honest with you, but I do know who you're referring to. Yes.
Yeah. At one point in that I will find his name and interrupt somebody just to shout this name out because people should check this out. It was really quite good. But at one point, this guy was saying, this Jamaican guy was telling him that, well, look, you know, we have these tablets that are verified. We know that these were written by the ancient Hebrews, but we don't. And he says, well, we don't know who wrote the books of the Bible, right? We don't have the authors' names for the books of the Bible. And G-Man took that to mean that this guy was saying that we know for a fact that no Jews had any involvement in writing the Bible. No ancient Hebrews had any authorship at all in writing the Bible. And you know, G-Man, as soon as he misinterpreted, this guy, I wish I remember his name, misinterpreted that way, G-Man went like, what? You know, so you're saying that the Hebrews didn't have anything to do with the Bible, that no Jew ever had anything to do with the Bible at all. Well, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. And he goes, well, no, that's not what I'm saying. Oh, that's what I'm doing. And of course, you know, G-Man went all wiggy like that, right? Well, I had posted in the live chat, or I guess wherever it was, that it was G-Man had a follow-up hangout, and in that one I said, like, you know, like, G-Man, you got your ass handed to you. Like, this guy clearly knows more about the Bible. And he has to interrupt somebody else and they're talking to point out, Hogtie just said that he thinks this guy did really well. And well, then I'm going to set up a debate with Hogtie. I'm going to see if Hogtie can prove. So Hogtie's telling us now that no Jews had any involvement in writing the Bible at all. Well, I can't wait until Hogtie proves that. Like, how does that follow? And then again, that's just G-Man reasoning. He gets into his head that somebody says something, and it doesn't matter if that's what the person actually said. And if anybody says, well, that person did a good job overall, well, then you're agreeing with this specific statement that G-Man invented in his own head.
Yeah, how does that follow is actually the mantra that we should have with the congregation. Because, I mean, seriously, I'm asking myself that question all the time. How does that follow? How do you get from A to B to Z? I don't get.
Well, it's not specifically been said yet. I think you've highlighted on the key issue, which is that G-Man can't interpret what somebody is saying when they're in the same room with them. How the hell can he interpret something like the Bible?
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point, actually.
On his other channel right now, he's struggling through trying to interpret the Satanic Bible. That's a good watch.
Oh, you know what? That's funny you mentioned that because he still doesn't understand. He doesn't understand the Vegas Satanism at all, right? Because he keeps on saying they worship gods themselves. They make it very clear they don't believe in any gods. They're an atheistic organization. The whole point of LaVeyan Satanism was to mock Christianity, right? They're secular.
Well, it was to make money and mock Christianity.
Okay, well, of course. But I mean, that was one of their primary things to make money, right? Was to mock Christianity. He doesn't understand that at all.
And it's particularly funny because the Satanic Bible isn't actually canon in the actual.
No, and I've read it. You've read it.
Yeah,
it's a hedonistic lifestyle more than anything else. And it's actually, I hate to
no, it's just a very provocative.
Points.
All that it is was Anton LaVey's treatise, and he just wrote it in a very provocative way, and in such a manner as to offend as many people as he could.
Isn't one of the tenets that nothing is sacred?
Pretty well.
Yeah, there's like 10 or something core.
9 satanic statements or principles.
But I mean, you got to admit that he actually makes some actually decent arguments. I'm not going to lie. But that doesn't mean I accept Satanism by saying that, right? That's the thing. And just like Hogtie was saying, just because you agree with somebody from winning in the argument doesn't mean you agree with every single point they make. I think Thaddeus' position about being a mesotheist is nonsensical to me, right? I don't understand why he'd be a mesotheist, but that's his position. Doesn't mean I have to agree with it. But
I have to look that term up. I thought you were saying that he had measles and he was a theist.
No, mesotheist. I mean, my philosophy is this: if God exists, I don't think we know enough to actually say we hate him, right? I don't think we could actually do that. That's kind of like saying, okay, my parents are my parents. As a child, I don't know why they wanted the best for me, but I hate them, right? I think a little petulant little child saying, oh, I hate mommy and daddy. I don't think that we can actually make a comment or formulate a conclusion that we hate God just because we don't understand God's purpose, right? So,
well, yeah, I think you're right. And similar to like not being able to directly experience the supernatural, we can't directly experience God, but we can experience the religion and the beliefs around God.
Oh, absolutely.
And you could hate those things, which would make you
anti-theist, not mesotheist. No,
yeah.
Anti-theist.
Yeah, like you can't actually hate the God, but you can hate the stuff that you're taught about him.
Right, but that's a different position, right? That's anti-theism.
Yeah.
He claims to be a mesotheist. He actually believes in God, but he hates him. Which again, I'm not saying it's an incoherent position. I mean, it's perfectly logical. Lucifer would theoretically believe in God or know God exists, but he hates him. But I don't know if I personally could accept that as a belief system, right? If God exists, I don't think I can hate him. He gave me life, if that's the case. I don't understand his reasoning for things, but I'll just take that as, maybe I'll find out one day. But I can't hate him like a petulant 5-year-old to their parents because they don't understand what's best for them, right?
It's kind of like football, you can sit there and think the coach is great, but still not like all the players.
What do you think about this, Tanya? I mean, I love the fact you can go to both hangouts, both sides.
Tanya's gone.
Oh, is she? God damn it.
She left. She has a headache or something.
Tanya. Okay. Well, I mean, I'll just throw it out there then. I think Tanya, like a lot of people, are just still going through their learning things. I will never hold anything against Tanya for, going into their hangouts and hanging out with them. I just want her to be able to actually properly evaluate their claims and realize they're misrepresenting my position ad nauseum, left and right. So, and because she's my friend, right? And, I want her to understand that they just completely misrepresenting me.
When she was initially going through her deconversion process, I was kind of in the sideline saying, take your time, figure out what's right for you, and this and that. At the same point, you had the Christians condemning her for declaring that that she didn't buy it anymore. And the atheist saying, come on over here, we have cookies.
Yeah.
Now, eventually that sugar high was likely to run out.
Yeah.
But at the same point, she was miserable as an atheist because I was kind of pushed into it.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised that she went back and forth. I'm not faulting her for that, right? People need to come to their belief systems on their own.
Took me 10 years, so.
I mean, normally it seems to mirror the stages of grief. And when you skip too many stages, you're going to just end up going back and having to deal with it all over again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I see that. But it doesn't mean you got to accept bad argumentation and people that are continually misrepresenting people. And by the way, Richard, that was one of the best beers I've had in a very long time. You're too kind. It was a blonde beer from New York. I got to turn the light here. I'm not putting the light feed.
It's a rather cruel joke, though.
Yeah, no, I know. I like Scotch too. I open it up and it's like beer. It's Omergang from Copperstown, New York, blonde ale.
Okay.
Very, very good.
It wasn't the whiskey.
Yeah, it wasn't scotch. I thought it was scotch until I was going to chill it, start chilling it, and then I'm like, open
I've
it up
seen
and-
that. I've
Yeah.
seen that whiskey at Costco and stuff, and I just haven't tried it yet. I think
Well,
I
it's
might have
scotch.
to. Yeah, the Scotch. Well, that's the Scotch for the Lafroig. I don't know how to say it. Whatever it is.
But I'll take a bottle of beer. This is good. I mean, it's very nice of him to send it. He sent me a video card too, but again, it only had HDMI and DVI output. So I just ordered a $5 cable that will give me an HDMI to VGA out or HDMI to VGA out.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. It'll come in a week. So Richard, I'll let you know how that video card works in about a week. It looks like a majorly awesome video card. I mean, seriously, this thing is like a beast. It's bigger than the other one that my friend had. Thank you very much for that. It should help my GPU when I'm starting to have these hangouts, since my computer's so slow. But that really goes to the processing of the GPU more than it does the actual CPU. What else do people think of a G-Man's hangout tonight? I mean, obviously, he just can't get a argument correct. He can't represent somebody's position correctly. And by the way, I've noted this to him more than once. He can't even spell my name correctly. It's 5 fucking letters, dude. Now, yes, I am a horrible speller, but look at it. If somebody corrects me on their name, I'm going to try to go out of my way to make sure I get it right. You know, it's McRae. Not that complicated.
I'll tell you what I think about.
Yeah. He doesn't know how to pluralize atheists, so.
He can't spell threat.
Oh, that one threat was so funny. He kept correcting it 3 tries.
I hope somebody grabbed like a series of screenshots of him like attempting to fix the title of that. There's still mistakes on it.
Wait, real quick. Mr. Intelligent Design is on our live feed. He says, "Hi, Steve. Can you connect me? I wanted to try my PC. Can connect to the Hangout." Let me give you a little background on this guy, Mr. Intelligent Design, if I may.
I'm curious.
Oh, by the way, I got to point this out. Somebody just pointed out to me that Wyatt is in Job Corps. That's why he hasn't done much since King Crocoduck. Fair enough. That Wyatt is in Job Corps. I just hope he has learned something. So the person that messaged me that, Lara, thank you for noting to me that Wyatt's doing something in Job Corps. But anyways, yeah, Mr. Intelligent Design claims that he has written multiple books, and he has written 6 books. Doesn't mean that he actually understands the topic. Claiming that he should win, quote, the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize, or whatever prize, for his explaining that evolution is wrong and that intelligent design is right. But when I've asked him multiple times for his theory, his hypothesis, I've got nothing. If you go to the reviews of his book, they're horrible. I mean, they basically call him an illiterate fool. And there's no positive reviews. So I've invited him on to come in this Friday and discuss his videos, because I've watched his videos. They're horrendous. Just simply mind-bogglingly fucking horrendous. But
when you say horrendous, do you mean the way how the videos are done, or just the presentation?
No, not the quality, but what he's putting in there, right? I mean,
so is it how he's putting it? Is it like, for example, the way how maybe like the Discovery Institute would make their arguments, or like what specifically?
He actually his argumentation isn't really even about intelligent design in his videos. It's more about definitions of intelligence, right? He's playing a semantic game of what the word intelligence means. He has 50. He's like going through multiple definitions of intelligence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Intelligent messages me on G+. I sent you a message on G+, but it hasn't gone through. But you're more than welcome to come in. But anyways, this guy literally he's promoting so much misinformation, and he thinks he's a genius wanting to win the Nobel Prize. And yet, if you go to his videos, people are commenting, you've never made a claim that you can support. You've never even actually made a testable hypothesis. You have nothing. You're just saying intelligent design is correct. We have intelligence, therefore intelligent design is correct. That's literally what the argument boils down to. Humans are intelligent, ergo, intelligent design is true.
Are you sure it's not Trade Jadlow's sock account?
No, even Travis J-Lo is more coherent than this guy. That's saying something. I mean, it's just incoherent rambling.
Did he use words like happening?
Oh.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, that's definitely a trademark of.
I think he used them, but contingently. So.
That was like an argument all night at G-Man's hangout.
Yeah.
Just
Was it necessary that he actually used a contingency?
It might have been.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get any information to come in here. Hey, I just got a rare upgrade. Yay. Click the live feed here. Did he leave, Mr. Okay, I will message you on G+. I'm trying to connect to Hangout. Yeah, message me on G+ because I tried to message you. It doesn't go through. It's just waiting there. So he's from Japan, so there's a time difference. I'm actually 7 days ahead and a day. So basically, it's my time is 9:30 on Wednesday. So his time right now is at 7 on Thursday. So it'd be for 4:30 his period, 4:30 a.m. his day on Wednesday, or Thursday. Sorry. Let me see if I can get him in here because this is a treat if he can come in here because he will be joining us on Friday. Joe Sonstein wants to have a conversation with him.
Well, that is a rarity if he lives in Japan.
Yeah, there's a time differential there. There's no question about that.
Well, no, I'm saying there aren't exactly many intelligent design proponents in Japan.
I don't know if there's any intelligent design proponents, period. I mean, that's not true. I mean, Dembski and Behe are very intelligent guys. There's no question.
Well, they are.
I mean,
there are plenty.
exceptionally
They're just concentrated within the United States mostly.
Just because somebody's intelligent doesn't mean they formulate coherent, rational conclusions, right? I think these guys want to believe something, and they try to formulate things around it post hoc.
Well, yeah, they're starting with the conclusion, and they're trying to retroactively fit the evidence to it.
And that's just not how it's done, and that's the problem with all intelligent design advocates. But this guy doesn't even like that. He doesn't even give any evidence for intelligent design. I've never heard him say anything. If you read the comments on his books, because he's like, oh, go read my books. He's like hawking his books. I'm like, no. Why should I have to go read your books for you to present a cogent argument?
Well, I mean, if you have that much information or understand the theory or whatever about intelligent design, you should be able to, at least, come up with a decent argument, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it's something that, you kind of wrote down and studied.
Okay, what I'm going to do, since he can't figure out how to do this, I don't think. I'm going to actually post him a message directly from my Google Plus page with the link to join the Hangout.
I think I get it. The actual book is really on basket weaving, and this is the only way it can make sales.
Well, somebody had pointed out some of the comments, and they were just fucking hilarious. I mean, just ridiculous how way off base this guy is. Okay, link to join. All you gotta do is click this link, okay, Mr. Intelligent Design. I'm sending it to you right now. There it goes. It's sent. Boom. Yeah, he actually thinks he should win the Nobel Prize for refuting evolutionary theory, yet he hasn't even given a single refutation of evolutionary theory. Even in his videos, go watch them. There's nothing in there. He conflates Darwinism with TOE. He doesn't understand the difference, right? He doesn't understand that Darwinism is 150 years out of date. He doesn't understand that evolution is a synthesis of modern evolutionary synthesis and common descent. These things are beyond his ability to seem to be able to understand for whatever reason.
Well, that and even the modern synthesis apparently is being debated as to whether or not it should be replaced with something else.
Well, the third way thing, which I highly disagree with, obviously, because I think it's political. But even them, they don't disagree with evolutionary findings and observations.
Well, no, you don't get rid of the things that have been established. You build upon it because it's just eventually your model will encounter something that it can't account for.
How
seriously? And so you just have to replace it with something else.
How seriously, though, are they thinking about? Are they really debating it?
No. Not in academic settings, right? This is the peripheral group that I think does have tie-ins to the Discovery Institute, and I can make that argument if I need to. The people that actually are labeled as a third way are not members of the Discovery Institute. But if you go to Evolutionary News and Views, they certainly are people that advocate for this. So
Yeah.
See, this is my main issue with ID, right? How can you demonstrate it in nature? I mean, sure, you can point to at this point they're cliches to me. But how do you demonstrate, like, when did this happen? How did it happen? What was the main purpose?
You can't.
Well, no, you're going outside the bounds of the theory right there.
Yeah.
You know, they would earn more of my respect if they simply said, we have no idea, there's no science behind it, it's magic, we believe it on faith. That I could almost go with, right?
Yeah, that's a
Like,
pietist type approach.
yeah, if you believe there was a worldwide flood and it actually happened, then we don't know scientifically how to explain it. It just happened.
I would simply have more respect if they just like tried the experiments that they demand evolutionists propose.
Well,
One of
that
them
too,
was
but-
Michael Behe, in his defense of the concept of irreducible complexity, said that, oh, get a population of bacterium, isolate off a few, start selecting for particular traits, and see if you can get something as sophisticated as bacterial flagellum. And oh, look at that, somebody else did it.
Yeah.
And of course, then he just changed his argument to the point where the modern way that he's using it and how it's been reprinted, his idea of irreducible complexity makes no sense. It's entirely vacuous.
Yeah, it's just, I don't, like, if you believe something kind of crazy and you're trying to support it with science that doesn't work, then, like, what does that say for your belief? Like, do you really believe it? Do you really have faith in it? Because here you are trying to, like, find some scientific...
I don't got a problem with people trying to find evidence for the position, although you should try to find evidence against it.
Well, it's not. I don't have a problem with them trying to find evidence for that. That's not it. I have a problem with them twisting science.
Yes.
And proposing things that cannot be scientifically just because it sounds scientific. That's what I'm saying. Like, if science doesn't support it, then at least, you know, if you're going to stick to your guns, at least say, I don't know. Don't make stuff up.
Okay,
right?
Can we do this more in the Hangouts where we just kind of point out realistically what science itself is? As in, it's more of a tool. It's not like necessarily some entity that, you know, or like a body that determines what should be accepted from what necessarily shouldn't. Because, you know, as any scientist would say, I mean, we don't say that we're right, because for all you know, new evidence can be presented that could completely throw, you know, an accepted theory out the window.
Which would be actually wonderful for scientists, right?
Yeah. Now,
well, not merely throw it out the window, but in the case of the ones that aren't completely thrown out the window, it can cause a complete reevaluation, which frankly genetics did to a degree, because we thought that we had a pretty good understanding where everything went on that proverbial tree, and it turned out it wasn't quite as simple as we thought it was.
Yeah, but science is self-correcting. That's the greatest thing, right? I mean, that's the fact that science keeps getting better and better, right? Because we learn from our mistakes. That's why science makes powerful predictions. Yeah, science gets things wrong, but it sure often the hell gets far more things correct and things that we can actually use.
No, but it's funny because for the most part, it actually does get more things wrong because people come up with a lot.
Well, hang on, scientists get more things wrong. Individual scientists, when they're doing their research.
The problem is, I think that Odian was getting at was that we do seem to kind of reify science as if it's some kind of monolithic, like, group of people who decide what is true and false. And our language does kind of reflect that, but we tend to operate with the understanding, or at least we hope that the other people understand that that's not what we're referring to.
Isn't that ironic in regards to theology as well?
Yeah.
I mean, we have Christians who use the Bible and Christianity as a monolithic perspective. Like, that's the irony of the whole thing. So,
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, they do kind of like look to each other for reification of their own positions, right? Support of their own positions. We see it all the time with the Christians in our community. Hey, Lou Veckel, or hey, True. They all say the same thing. I mean, how many times they're like, hey.
On the reification issue, that is something that is worked on, beating out of bad writing habits, beating them out of undergraduates. So people who use expressions like, well, science says, or science has proven this, right? Well, you don't use the word science as a subject, right? You don't say that science ever decides something or science ever says something. It doesn't do any talking. But no, we got to back up. I was listening AFK. I had to come running back to my computer. This idea that that their theories are always sort of tenuous and that they can be thrown out. That there might be an observation that'll come along someday to throw out a theory. That's not the case. That's getting to be kind of a modern misunderstanding about the role and the fate of scientific theories. Once a theory has gained acceptance, keep in mind that it's gained acceptance because of its good fit with data, right? So you have a theory that is constructed, it's a set of rules and laws and propositions that are constructed from initial evidence that's available, and then it makes further predictions that are testable, and those predictions are tested, and the theory turns out to be a consistently reliable account for past and future evidence, and it becomes an entrenched theory on that basis. It can never then be unseated, because you don't undo those observations, right? Except in cases where the observations are just wrong, right? Sometimes new information comes along that requires that a theory be augmented or enhanced, or there'll be new theoretical accounts for other related phenomenon, but it doesn't unseat the theory. And one of the best examples of this is Newton's account for gravity, right? Very simple model that the bodies are drawn together, through some means, with a measurable force, that is an accelerating ability, that's equal to, or sorry, proportional with the product of the masses and divided by the square of the distances. Varies inversely with the square of the distance. And now we realize, well, I mean, there are circumstances where that doesn't work. On very large scales and on very small scales, that's not a great account. But that doesn't mean that people threw out the theory of gravity. The Newtonian gravity model still is completely effective and still very much in use for calculating, how, you drop a bowling ball off the Leaning Tower of Pisa. I don't know if anyone's actually done that experiment, but those sorts of things that on most scales, the theory of gravity doesn't just get thrown out the window because we find circumstances where there need to be different theoretical accounts. So this idea that occurs in a tenuous way is actually not accurate.
Well, hold tight. Wasn't Einstein's gravity an explanation of? Einstein explained how gravity worked and what the mechanism of gravity was. Mass had the effect.
What he did was he extended the maths from Euclidean space to non-Euclidean space.
It's the curvature of space-time. That's what.
Yes.
Because what happens is, instead of what Newton was thinking was that two masses would exert a force between each other, right? The law of gravity: force equals mass times 1 times 2 g divided by r squared, right? That was how he looked at it, and it works. It works great for macroscopic things. But what Einstein did, he said no. He said what happens is that things follow the natural path of a curvature of space-time. That's what's causing things to draw near each other.
Yeah,
he's
so
looking from a
basically,
non-inertial frame of reference rather than an inertial frame of reference.
So basically, gravity is not necessarily even a force.
You're right. In relativity, which is the theory of gravity. No, you're right. It's not
an
a
emergent property of the curvature of space-time under some interpretations or some views.
There's a famous
force. It is a force.
There's a famous saying
no,
that
it's not a force. It's not a force in relativity.
Gravity is one of the four fundamental forces.
It still is a force, but
no, it's not. It's a natural path. It's going to be a non-inertial force. It's only an inertial force in Newtonian. Then it's a force. There's four fundamental forces, right? Gravity, electromagnetic, strong and weak. That's in a Newtonian. But under relativity, which is the theory of gravity, it is not a force. It's a natural.
Well, The simple rule of thumb is if there's acceleration, there is a force. If there's a force, there's acceleration, right?
It's a pseudo force, though. That's why it's called. That's why it's called a non-inertial force.
I think Hogtie is talking like an engineer, not like a physicist.
I'll just make it really simple. There's a famous quote: "Space-time tells mass how to move. Mass tells space-time how to curve."
Okay,
but again, right. Well, the one thing, and we have to go back about 30 seconds here when Steve said that, and I'm going to pick on a really small word that you use there, just because I want to sort of add color to this about what I mean about how theories don't just get thrown out. Was Steve, you were saying, and I'm not saying incorrectly, I'm sort of picking on it to beat Bicky, but you said that while Newton described gravity a certain way, and then you said Einstein came along and said no, but actually, and then you give your account for how gravity would actually work, and I'm saying that's all correct, except Einstein wasn't saying no, but he was saying and
yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah,
saying, we made this observation.
He doesn't discount anything that Newton said. Newton physics, right? He still includes it, right? Okay.
He provided elaboration on it that provided a more general model that would work in a larger range of contexts. But again, I strain to make the same point that it doesn't mean that just because new information comes along, we generally don't unseat theories, because theories become seated and entrenched precisely because they match observations. So those observations are still real. That's the support for those theories, and those observations stay. I just find it weird that in recent years, people who are genuinely fascinated with science tend to adopt this position that scientists and the whole scientific enterprise is very sort of, we're never we're never perfectly confident. We're always open-minded. There's almost an effort to describe the scientific enterprise as being more open-minded than it really is. And unfortunately, one of the consequences of it is that people have come to this opinion that scientists sort of hold these theories very tentatively, and they're quite willing to just let them go. And of course, they would have no justification for letting go once a theory's been established because of its consistency in explaining observations and making good predictions that are verifiable. You don't just dismiss it when a new theoretical account comes along to explain other phenomenon.
And I think that's the takeaway. I think that they don't understand what a theory actually means. A theory is synonymous with model.
Yeah.
And that we formulate a model that explains observation. So when you go back to initially when Antonio was talking about the Big Bang being a starting point, he completely, horribly failed to realize, no, it is not a starting point. It is a explanation of our observations.
Mm-hmm. They don't understand that. I don't know why they.
I know they don't. I don't understand why though. It's not that complicated.
And the whole singularity thing, there's a misunderstanding for that too. Whereas, like, a lot of people seem to think that it's a singularity in the sense of, like, maybe like a black hole or whatever. No, it's just called a singularity.
You know what? Actually, what it is? It's a mathematical singularity. Is what it is.
Yes.
I remember. Do you remember a couple of years ago, G-Man was really on this thing. One of his kicks when he really wanted to do science stuff was he kept asking people, so what was the singularity made of? What was the singularity made of? Like, you want to know, is it made of nylon or is it made of
it's not a
stone?
physical thing.
Like what the hell is it? And I asked him in response one time, I said, I don't know, what's a parabola made out of? And he said, what's a parabola? So I realized that was a bad example. I need
know what
more.
a parabola was?
I need more drag.
Incidentally, for anyone out there in the chat that's wondering what it's actually made out of, it's made out of all of G-Man's failed arguments.
It's so dense.
Balled into an infinitely dense
You got it.
particle of stupidity.
Arguments for
they tried running that today, didn't they? And what was before the Big Bang? What caused the Big Bang?
Yeah, but again, it's a whole different question, right?
Yeah, that's a whole different question.
I think it's a nonsensical question.
Well, they tried touching on it, which was like, what was the singularity made out of? Was it supernatural, since it wasn't part of the natural world? It wasn't the universe yet.
Well, I blame pop science for that. Right?
I don't know. When you say I don't know, they hate that.
Well, I blame pop science, and of course, the initial formalization of the Big Bang by Lamont, he called it the cosmic egg, right? And I think that's what they're thinking of. They think that the singularity is literally this cosmic egg that exploded, which we all know is not an explosion, and produced the universe. That's the mindset they're still looking in because they think that singularity is actually a physical.
No, I
primordial-
think that they still think that it's nothing exploded and made everything.
That's the other argument they use too. They've done both. That's the funniest thing.
But they're using even the cause and effect argument they're trying to use too is within the universe. We don't know if cause and effect actually is even relevant outside of the space to how we experience time.
There's a point at which their question is the equivalent of asking what was inside of a bubble before you blew it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, some questions are just kind of
meaningless.
Meaningless, right? Exactly.
I wouldn't necessarily call it meaningless.
No, it starts getting into some Zen Buddhist shit, though.
Zen Buddhist shit.
I guess you can look at it that way, but some people legitimately want some form of answer to that question. And I mean, it's like what Multiple just said, right?
In order to understand the answer, you need certain amount of scaffolding, which would be that scientific knowledge that they're lacking.
Well, I agree with Odin that the question's great, in that it's those kind of questions, those kind of evidently unanswerable questions that actually push us forward. As individuals, and as I mentioned, the scientific enterprise. I mean, those kind of questions, even if their answers are unattainable in our lifetime, I mean, these are important things to ponder. I mean, you realize we're actually still addressing questions about the natural world that were posed by the ancient Greeks. I mean, this is neat stuff. But where the question is useless is in the implementation, right? When somebody asks a question, like, well, what happened before the Big Bang, or what caused the universe, or basically they're looking for the gaps. These guys push the God of the gaps argument. So they're looking for things you don't know, so they can say, "Aha, God." But so it's a when they ask a question.
Don't leave out my favorite. What banged?
Yeah,
that was clear. That was two-parent universes, because that's the only thing that can produce intelligence. Two-parent intelligence.
Like, I'm fascinated.
Together, they give a special hug to each other. They produce, our universe.
Well, the best part of that hangout was he was insisting this is Ronnie's position, and Ronnie's screaming in the side chat, going, "No, it isn't."
What? I missed that. What?
G-Man was having a conversation in a particular hangout where he was saying that intelligent design is when two things come together and have sex and make a baby. And he's saying, this is Ronnie's position. And he was defending Ronnie's position was the whole point of the hangout. And True Empiricism is in the live chat going, this is not what I've said. This is not intelligent design.
He did the same thing.
I would like to ask.
Nice.
I would like to ask True Empiricism if Jesus was supernatural. I wonder what he would say.
I'd like to ask every Christian.
He'd say yes.
I think he would say yes too.
Yeah. Well, he would say something about ATP synthase and degrade and dissolve. Something about being G-rich.
And how it's all Steve McRae's fault somehow.
If Fiona ever watches this, can she make one of her Dark Beats thing and make a new one called it's all about the G proteins?
Oh, jeez.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. It's funny. There are times that I feel sorry for some of these guys. I mean, I sort of get the blame for being too generous with empathizing or being pitying these guys at times. Well, sure, but Ronnie and Veckel, God bless them, they adore G-Man. But they're acutely aware of his shortcomings, and I always find it funny what it's like. I love it especially when they're in the room with them. And Veckel's one of the best for it. Is G-Man will say, "Oh yeah, well you could ask Veckel," and Veckel's going to say blah 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 blah. Right? That's what Veckel would say if you said that stupid thing to Veckel. Well, Veckel, you'd say that, wouldn't you? And then Veckel goes, that chuckle of his, and then he goes, "Well, actually."
Yeah. That's just awesome. Oh God! Yeah, I like the way you put that. They are acutely aware of his shortcomings.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them are. I mean, I've always said Veckel is probably one of the more intelligent ones amongst that group. I mean, I've listened to him talk about biblical things. I mean, the guy is not stupid.
Yeah.
I think Veckel is.
But stupid.
Yeah, I think Veckel's very good at explaining things too.
Veckel's fun to talk to, but every now and then he'll say something that makes him out to be a bit of a dick.
Yeah. Well,
I think he does that just because he likes to troll every so often.
And it's not even. It seems like he does it intentionally. That he wants to excite people. He wants to trigger an emotional reaction so that he can start a particular conversation. He's not trolling or.
No, what he does is he knows how to
wants-
ask the right question to get everybody kind of pitted against each other.
Kind of, yeah. He wants to excite a particular dialogue, and I'm just sitting there going, no. Like, one of the things that was in a hangout that he had on Gman's channel, and he said, oh, wouldn't the atheists love it if I said that we want to kill all the gays or something? Like, I wouldn't like you to say that.
I mean, Ken Hovind expressed that, and he seems to really like Ken Hovind. So does
Like, well, I don't like. Well, Beckel doesn't hold that position,
right?
So it's like, I'm happy that you don't hold that position. I don't know why you think that I would want you to hold the opposing position, where it's no, go out and kill everybody.
Yeah, I love how in that group it's actually a laudable and respectable position to hold. Like, where you look and say, well, look, they're not all bad. Some of them don't hold the position that we should be murdering homosexuals. So, you know, they're not bad guys.
Some of them, shouldn't it be like the vast majority of them?
Wait, just to clarify, they're Christians, so G-Men and all, that advocate the killing of homosexuals?
No.
No, G-Man. Well,
no.
No, none of them will. But like they want, they think that
they think that
we atheists would like them to have that position.
Hang on a moment.
No, I have a video of G-Man advocating that very position. Remember?
Yeah, but
actually,
he's changed it.
If I may, what G-Man will do is he will sit there and run in gangbusters talking about how in biblical days they would be killing homosexuals and the homosexuals would be killed. But he doesn't actually advocate for it in the modern context. But whenever he's confronted with the Bible saying that, he's like, yeah, and they'd be killed in the Old Testament days. And yet, but it's not his position. So it's easy to get that kind of mixed up with the way that he presents that.
It was, though. I have a whole video on him maintaining that very position.
Well, it was like 4 years ago, but when he started like participating in Nadia's channels, his position actually changed rather quickly, and the reason being was he actually met people who didn't fit the stereotypes that he had. They actually treated him decently, despite his positions. And he changed his mind.
Well, it's far greater than less than 4 years ago, because I mean, he did.
Are you sure he wasn't playing the Bible says routine? Because he
he
usually
was
hides behind that.
He was supporting Ken Hovind, and Ken Hovind was saying, of course, that he believes that we should implement some kind of law that kills gays. Right? That's Ken Hovind's position.
Well,
Ken Hovind's particular position was that the government should basically do spiritual eugenics.
Yeah. Bingo.
You know, can I chime in on this real quick? Like, as someone who was like born and pretty much raised in probably one of the most homophobic countries in the world, I never understood the hate. I mean, the way how I always saw it was like, okay, so what? You know, just live and let live. I just never saw.
I do understand it. I don't mean to say that I accept it, but I do understand the concept of whenever you try to build something and you do it by focusing a concentrated hatred toward another group, it tends to have successful consequences, right? Because, you know, we've all realized that if you want to have a camaraderie among people, you need to say, okay, what is this particular group we're all going to have in common we all hate? In fact, you guys mentioned earlier, one thing that all the Christians have in this community is they hate atheists, it seems, right? On that side, not all Christians, but I mean the clown car posse side. That's something that they all want to rally against. Oh, yes, the atheists are bad. There's no difference between that or calling it Jews or calling it gays. It's just a focus of their hate so they can rally people together. That's been a long-standing way of promoting an agenda.
And I want to say go ahead, Yep.
Let's see, this is the thing that bothers me the most, right? If your job is to spread the gospel and you're coming and, you know, people who do not share your beliefs are willing to sit with you to have a conversation, to learn and to listen, right? Why would you alienate them? Why would you insult them? Why would you treat them in a particular way, right? I never understood that. at that point, the way how I see it is that you're supposed to be finding the best way possible to explain, your beliefs to them.
And I had
Right.
Solo made that very argument to them a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Very same thing.
Well, I want to say a little bit about how, because we've mentioned how this this strain of radical evangelicalism, we've used the word hate a lot. We've mentioned how they hate atheists, they hate homosexuals, and we kind of throw that word around pretty easily, that they hate, and it's something that if one of them were in the room or in the live chat, they would be very quick and very aggressive to deny that. And I think we need to address that. Is it like, how can we label it so confidently that it's hate, and yet they would be very aggressive about saying no, that it's not hate? Well, I think this is actually part of how it comes about, that when you can't be honest with yourself about the fact that you do hate other people, you just stick with it, right? Because remember that Christians are taught not to hate. They're taught to love their neighbors, to love their enemies, and if what I picture happens here is that they think, well, look, I am a Christian, not just a Christian, but a real Christian. There are other people who say they're Christians, but they're not real Christians. I'm actually a real Christian. I know I'm saved. I know I'm elect. I know I'm going to spend eternity in heaven. And that could only be true if I'm actually following these prescriptions. And I don't really hate anybody, so I know that I don't hate anybody. I'm commanded not to hate, so I know I don't hate. Of course, everything in their behavior suggests that, that they're hating people, but they can't come to face it. I think some of us in our lives have sort of recognized in ourselves, wait a minute, I'm kind of bigoted this way, right? I carry this stereotype unfairly. And when we kind of are honest with ourselves about a problem we have, it sort of gives us a mechanism to correct it. But they remind me an awful lot of like an alcoholic who doesn't think that they need to dial back how much they drink because it's not a problem. They just declare that it's not a problem, even though everybody around them tells them it's a problem, even though every indication is there that it's a problem. It's interfering in their life in many different ways.
But when you're all the elect, when you are the chosen and beloved of God, why do you need to change?
Yeah.
Why do you need to grow? Why do you become better?
I don't even know why they worry about it at all, because their interpretation of Scripture is that the difference between the people are going to go to heaven, the people are going to go to hell, is whether or not you've accepted Christ. It's not based on your works, right? I mean, they're not worthy of salvation. We're not worthy of salvation. They're not worthy of salvation. And all it does is it comes down to this, to this choice to accept, Christ as your Savior. To bend your knee and honor Him as Lord. And nobody's
not supernatural, though.
Yeah,
and this is entirely an earthly being that we're talking about.
Yeah, because they don't even believe in the version of Christianity. Like we all, even though we all make an argument against Christianity, they don't agree themselves on what Christianity really is, because everybody else has their different subjective.
You can't really say we in referring to the people in the hangout, because there are Christians in the room.
That's what I'm saying.
If
one
we
of
go,
us have different views on Christianity. Even the Christians in here, like General Han Solo, for instance, when he goes over there, they'll tell him to his face he's not Christian because he doesn't believe the type of
G-Man will be. I mean, he has a deep hatred of General Han Solo for some reason. I don't know.
If I can try to slide this in before we get too far off the topic of homosexuality. I mean, the thing is, I think on some levels they're fighting against the gay agenda because they're worried about these people breaking into their houses, changing all the color scheme while they're not there, and then laying in wait for them to get home, at which point they will take them, make them dress better, force them to accessorize, and then demand to be treated like other human beings are.
Can I have that happen? That'd be really cool. I would really like that.
That would be so awesome. Basically what you're saying is that our agenda is to militarize Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I love that show. That
would be so cool.
Militarize. I love that.
Militarize.
Now, if we
you in the chair, put on the white shirt. Use the white shirt.
A new reality show.
You will not wear those socks with those trousers.
No, you have to do it like you're holding a gun to their head. You will not wear those.
Just say it in German. That'll work.
Yeah, everything's up there in German, right? It's just very military.
I don't have my German contact anymore. Sorry.
I need a gay friend. I'm going to turn my
friends.
I'm gonna. You guys should run an intervention here. I should turn my camera on and show you the shoes I've been wearing. Like I wear, I think they were $20.
He's saying he has no fashion sense.
Okay,
Yeah,
already you've lost me.
They were $20. No, I mean no, they were $20. I think like that's retail price, but they were on sale. I think I got them for 15 or 16, and I think that was 3 years ago. Like,
dude,
I just ripped up, and you know, I'm
Just
like, what's
different with fashion sense, hell.
Hey, I worked at Kohl's for 7 years, so at least I understood the concept of fashion sense. Doesn't mean I apply it to myself, but
dude, I mean, it's funny because the last time I went clothes shopping, or the only time I went in a long time, was so I can buy new dress clothing and shoes for my job.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, that's yeah. Getting a job, having to go to a wedding or a funeral. Those are the that's when you got to up your game a bit. But
to be fair, though, you're in the prairies.
Yeah, I don't. That's the thing, is it? I can go to court. I can go to court dressed like I'm dressed. That's nobody cares.
And in Texas, you can go to court wearing cowboy boots. Actually, being able to wear cowboy boots to work, I really enjoyed. I have to admit.
And live in Texas, but I guess Mr. Intelligent Design's account got suspended. He's going to try to figure it out and then join us tomorrow. Or, no, it's going to be Friday, I think. And then I'll get Joe Sonsteed and.
How did his account get suspended if he's commenting to you?
Well, I guess to go into Hangouts. I don't know.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, dude. The guy is not very bright. I'm not even lying to you. He's just really not. And he just thinks he's so damn smart.
How much worse that makes me feel that apparently this guy's written 6 books and he's not that bright.
Can
I'm on my third, so what does that say?
It sounds like a fib, not what you just said. Not what you just said, but
I'm teasing.
He can't get in. Like he's commenting.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know how that works either, to be honest.
Yeah, if you can sign in, click the link. Just what happens when you click the link? You click the link, a window opens, and you don't even have to sign in again. If you can sign into your account, you can get into a Hangout.
How many people can you have in this one?
Just 10.
This one is maxed out. Yeah, this one's
However, after his final attempt, there was still only 9 in.
Try a different browser or something. I don't know.
I give
you know how it's very true. You're very charitable, but even as someone who believe in the same God as them, you know, to be straight up, some of them really just do hate homosexuals. Like, they won't say it to your face, but that's really how they feel.
They do. Some of them do, but they don't realize that it is hate.
Well,
or they don't see it as that, because as a Christian, you're not necessarily supposed to hate.
If I may, for a moment, over the course of the time I've been on here, between video comments and what have you, that I've had and some of the things that I put out there in terms of issues, because I've covered stuff like abortion and sexuality and all these kinds of other things. And the common factor that I seem to see throughout it is that a lot of people that have in themselves strongly held beliefs or bigotry that has technically nothing to do with their faith seem to pawn it off on God as their justification of, well, this isn't me saying it, it's God saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't argue with me. Argue with the Bible. Argue with God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's well, there's a great quote about you know that you've made up your own. You made up God in your own image when He hates all the same people you do.
Yeah.
This thing about them hating. I mean, I think if we were to really take this on as a conversational topic with the evangelicals, we would need to come up with a sensible, clear working definition of what it means to hate, right? Because hate is a label for behaviors and attitudes, right? We don't, you don't have a reservoir in your head that's filled with hate, and there's a dipstick that you can check your hate level. It's very much a reified concept. So when we look at somebody, you look at how two people are acting, and you go, boy, that person really hates that other person. What are the indicators of that? What brings us to say that hatred actually exists? I would sort of raise that as a question, and hear I want to know what you guys think about it. I would sort of throw out there as my first ante on the topic that when you're inclined to tell other people untrue, awful defamatory things about somebody, that's not a sign that you love them. That's a sign that you hate them and that you want to see bad things happen to them. Like if I decided that I had some sort of a problem with Dragnet, so I tell Steve, look, you're spending a lot of time with that Drag guy. Well, did you know this about him? And I tell Steve that, for example, Drag's he's on parole for burning down a gas station and killing the gas station
about that.
What's that? He's totally open about it.
Yeah, no, I know about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
mean,
mean,
there are really heinous things that you can say about people that intentionally make it so that other people don't want to deal with that person. And I was last year, people might remember me tallying this up. In the time that I've been doing this, just in the YouTube environment, I could just easily come to memory, recall 12 times that someone I know has been accused of being a child molester. And just as one example, people might remember a few years ago when DPR Jones was, Venom Fang X had made a video saying that DPR Jones is a child molester, and this is a very serious thing. And if you want to, do something about it. Anyway, there's this email address that you could write to. And of course, it ended up being traced back to Venom Fang X's school. He was using one of the school computers or the school Wi-Fi or whatever to do this. Set up an email account, and then when you would write to that email and say, yeah, I want to do something about this, you get an email in response, of course written by Venom Fang X, that said, here is what Venom Fang X believed to be DPR's real full name and the name of DPR's employer.
Wow.
Yeah. And he just encouraged people, call the police in his area, let him know that he's doing this, call up the law firm where he works, and let the senior partners know that this guy is, a child molester. And so is it fair to say, as Venom Fang X has said, Venom Fang X has made videos where he says, because remember, he knows he's had conversations with Thunderfoot and with DPR Jones and Jordan Owen. So these people all know each other. This is going back several years on YouTube. But Venom Fang X has made the claim that he's met DPR Jones online, and he does love DPR Jones, right?
No.
Now, is this the action of somebody who loves somebody, that you're trying to call up the senior partners at what you believe to be his law firm to try to get his career destroyed? That's not love. That's hatred.
Yeah.
It could be nothing else. When you're actually actively going out of your way to try to set someone's world aflame, you hate that person and you want to see them suffer.
Sure. And then on a much lower scale, I went for a biggie when I went with that. Just looking at our current circumstances, we have people in our community like, Ronnie's, 3 out of 4 videos on the True Empiricism channel are him making accusations about so-and-so's a liar and this person told this lie and they're trying to do this and they're trying to whatever. G-Man has twice publicly accused me of sniping hangouts. He's accused Hannah of sniping and of hacking. And everybody's a liar, and
all 3 Hannahs.
All 3 Hannahs. Is there 3? Oh my God!
Remember, Hannah is me. You're all me. So
you're
Oh, you're Steve McQuack now, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny too. Yeah, I'm going to mention that.
One of my favorites was when he randomly accused Jackie of having gone into his channel at one point to be racist.
Yeah.
I want to make sure how can I finish this train.
And then
I do want to mention that he thought I was Steve McQuack. Where the hell did he get that bullshit from?
Why does he keep calling Thaddeus Keefers?
Because he is Keefers.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There's 2 reasons. There's 2 reasons. So yeah, I think it's well known now. It's the cat's out of the bag, so we're not dropping it. But Keevers had there is a reason why he's changed channels, and he does want to keep that bridge secret, right? And some people do that, right? Like Bible Thumping Wingnut, for example, had made this observation. He had a different YouTube channel where he talked about things other than Bible Thumping Wingnut stuff, and somebody made the connection, and he doesn't want, and he reported it to YouTube. And it was doc dropping, and the videos got removed. Another example is like Ozzy, for example, has his Ozymandias channel where he talks about some of these great debate issues, and then he has other channels where he talks about outdoor living. Right? He's a very sort of outdoorsy kind of guy, and he doesn't want those 2 things crossed over. Right? So he doesn't tell his viewers on one channel about the other channel.
Just fine. I got no problem with that.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. Like if I have a YouTube channel for my business, And I don't tell people on my business channel that, oh, by the way, I also, do great debate stuff and counter apologetics. And I don't tell people in this community how they can find my business channel, because those things are unrelated. If G-Man were to find out which it was and then say, oh, hey, anyway, so this was a situation.
Wait, Hawkeye, your other channel is called Steve McRae, right?
That's right.
No, it's Steve McQuack or whatever it was.
Steve McQuack. Yeah, I'm secretly Steve McQuack.
I've sat there to have conversations with Steve McQuack in my live feed. Why would he think that's me?
Yeah. Well,
because Skylar Fiction did that shit a year ago.
Hey, you guys, everyone knows Steve McRae's computer can't handle that.
Oh, shit, right. Thank you.
Steve's in the same state that I am, where he can't run his video game and the Hangout at the same time without running into some issue.
Yeah, I'm running both right now, but I'm not doing the XSplit or the OBS.
I guess
by issue I mean
computers aren't what they used to
taking
be.
a little longer than it should.
Anyway, so Keefies wanted to keep these things separate because of this other enterprise he's got going on. So he opened this thing that's this Thaddeus thing, right? And G-Man is convinced that this was all a big scam to deceive G-Man, and that G-Man blew the lid off it. So he starts saying in Hannah's thing, like, oh, by the way, aren't you that guy? And of course, Thaddeus says, well, look, we're not talking about that here. Let's stay focused. And Hannah told him, well, let's stay focused. So G-Man proceeded to drop the shit out of this guy, right? Because you know how Thaddeus doesn't deserve the right to privacy. He doesn't deserve, G-Man will make a video where he says, I remember last year he was insisting, you have to call me G-Man or call me Gary. If you call me anything other than G-Man or Gary, like, I will block your channel, I will flag your channel, I'll blow you right off of YouTube. And then now a couple months ago he says, well, you have to call me G-Man. Anybody who uses my first name or my last name. Well, you just said last year, you said we're supposed to call you Gary. Like, which is it now? You can't keep switching it up like that and then blowing up at people when they call you Gary. Like, you told us to call you Gary. Like, what are we supposed to do? And his whole thing about how people are trying to get him killed or get him fired or all these other crazy things. And he says, look, when somebody, here's one thing that G-Man says, I agree with him. If somebody says, hey, call me this, then call them that. What do you care what their name is, right?
I agree. Yeah,
Call Steve, call me Hogtie, and that's whatever. That's fine. If I open a new channel tomorrow and I just want everybody to call me by this other name, just call me that other name, because whatever, as long as we know who we're talking about. But so I don't think people should use G-Man's real name.
But to be
I'll
fair,
respect that when they start respecting the wishes of transgender people.
Or just about anybody in the community.
Like, I agree we should call people what they want to be called. I just, to be fair, like, I think it was, I don't know, maybe a month ago, Hannah accidentally called him Gary, and she like immediately, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, but he gets offended when people accidentally call him that. Like, I don't even know, like,
But he claims to be friends with Hannah, and he claims to like her, but at the same time he's accused her of hacking, he's accused her of sniping, and he's accused her, he always wants her to moderate. And then as soon as she moderates, he says, oh, well, she was helping out this other guy. So, for example, with this, when Thaddeus was saying, no, we're not talking about what my other name is. I don't, well, I'll tell you and I can talk about it off air, but don't do this right now while we're live. And G-Man was like, no, fuck that. I'm just going to go ahead and keep calling him by this other name. And then G-Man went and made another video afterwards where he says, oh, this guy lied. And just like I say, just dropped the shit out of him. And then said that Hannah was jumping in to help him out and to protect him and cover up his lies and everything. And no, all Hannah was trying to do was to respect the guy's basic request that he should be called what he wants to be called, just like she's done the same for G-Man. But in G-Man's mind, G-Man deserves to be called G-Man, and you call him what he says to call you. But if he wants to call somebody else by a different name, even if it means making a connection that they don't want made publicly, then fuck that person.
Yeah. What I would really like to see, you guys remember when Veckel played like devil's advocate and argued the atheist position against G-Man?
That was awesome.
And that was pretty cool, right? I want somebody, anybody, doesn't matter, theist, non-theist, I don't care. Somebody should debate G-Man on anything, but they should do it as G-Man. Like basically just have this all-out yelling, shouting war where there's like nonsensical things coming from both directions. I think it would be hysterical.
So basically, I should take a shit ton of uppers and downers and let them fight it out.
Hang on. That's technically been done. It's any hangout that Mark Antony goes into with them.
Yeah.
No, I just mean like every fallacy you can think of, non sequiturs left and right, accusations.
Yeah, that'd be Mark Antony. He's an idiot.
I know that I would absolutely fail that debate.
Yeah. I love
You
when
would do it.
I love it when the people who are famously bad at discussing things then argue with each other. Like probably most famously, most recently was Kent Hovind and Matt Slick. And it's really funny because these are both guys I've had conversations.
Where is this video?
Yeah, can you put a link in the side chat?
I will. You know what? I'm going to hunt this down. But I was so entertained by that because I've had conversations with those guys individually, and they're incredibly grueling to have a conversation with. I certainly get along better with Matt Slick. Kent Hovind is simply crazy. Matt Slick's got problems, but he's got sensible streaks to him, and I can actually get on quite well with him. I think there's a couple of famous bad conversations that people might remember that I had with him publicly, but privately we get on well. And since then we've actually had a couple good public conversations. But Kent Hovind, there's just no talking to the guy. And with the two of them, and pretty much any crazy person versus Nephilim free is always a great conversation.
Wow. Yeah, the Mayo argument I will never forget.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it had actually mostly fallen off of YouTube. I had to go dig out the clip and put it up myself. Mayonnaise is proof of God. Yeah.
Wow, imagine my luck. I think I hit it. Yeah, and here we go. I want to promote the guy's channel. Yeah,
definitely gonna have to. I'm definitely gonna have to see this link though, because the drama llama is already whacking wool in the corner.
Oh, I found it. I found it in like 2 seconds. Steve's not here to. Well, whatever. Steve never cares if you say somebody else's channel name. So it's End Times Army, and link in the side chat.
Hogtie, did you continue seeing that conversation between myself and Josiah and Matt Slick with respect to sex?
Yes. Yes. The masturbating.
Did you see
and
how uncomfortable I made all of those guys? Because Matt was actually agreeing with me in regards to let's be open about this topic, and everyone was thinking, you know, sex talk is taboo.
Yeah.
Alex, I forced Alex to read specifically what I wanted them to hear, and so yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I got to get this in the live chat here. So I can do that, and then I go paste, and look at that, I can post links. Isn't that awesome? There you go, folks. So Hovind versus Slick on the End Times Army channel. That's the link. Yes, General Han Solo. I loved that conversation. I did like that it was very honest, and I will say I liked Matt Slick's approach to it, in that he didn't insert or eisegete a bunch of things, sexual mores, into the Bible. I thought it was interesting that it was so, his position on masturbation was so well thought out that it's you know, what was it, that basically if you think about somebody that you're not married to, that's adultery. But as long as you think about your wife when you're pulling it, there's no biblical prohibition against doing that.
Yeah, the reason why that discussion even started was Josiah, for some reason, if he picks on someone, for example,
he was. Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you, General, but I'm going to start to nod along because I know he took after something you had said before, totally turned it around, and yeah, go ahead and tell the story, General. But yeah, I'm just agreeing with you. That was incredibly infuriating. Go ahead.
No, I think it turned out really well because here is Matt Slick, after all. Like he's in the discussion, and so, well, let's hear what Matt Slick has to say. And so I define my position. Basically, the prior discussion was, as a Christian, I was telling Josiah and a few other Christians that in regards to premarital sex, so in 1 Corinthians 7, there's two types of people, one who is a widow and the other who are young, like young boy and young girl, who either could be quote unquote dating or engaged, one of the two. And Paul uses a very specific Greek word that you'll find in Xenophon's letters in that culture, basically, really passionate, hot sex is the word for burning with passion. And he says, if the widow can't control herself, then it's better to marry than to burn with passion. And then again, he says to the young male, if you're not acting appropriately to your either fiance or young woman, then go get married. Now, what I found interesting is that he wasn't like the fundamentalist Christian that we have today, where they come down really hard on people who, because of, at the end of the day, it's a natural biological function. If there's tests done to show that when a man and a woman, there's certain mating things that happen subconsciously, and they just fit with each other. And there are moments where they're very good people, very good Christians, have given into that and have had sex, and then they are ruined because certain pastors or certain Christian groups will come down so hard on them over something that is quite naturally biological. And what I found interesting was that Paul didn't condemn them. He just said, okay, it's evident that you both are attracted to each other. Now go get married, because that'll not only benefit her, because, if you don't marry, in that culture, if you don't marry a woman and she's already, quote unquote, deflowered, then she's pretty much, she can't live. She may even, she won't be able to support herself, basically. So that's what I was telling Josiah and those other guys, that there is a subtle gray area. Don't come down so hard on this whole premarital sex sort of thing. So then Josiah tried to ask Matt about his opinion on that. And then again, I defined my position. And Matt actually agreed with me. So much so that he extended the conversation into masturbation as an analogy. How do you deal with that sort of thing? I mean, let alone you physically being with another woman before marriage. And I don't know, the Hogtie, did you notice how Matt, I kid you not, everyone needs to see this, Matt even animated himself how he would masturbate. Remember he's like, oh, yes. Here I go again, Lord. And then he's like, oh, and he starts like moaning. And I'm on this side, I'm going, oh my God, maybe I'm taking this too far.
Yeah,
because there's kids in this room, and it's a pretty funny discussion.
Yeah. I do have to say, I like how you started that by saying, like, it's better to marry than to burn with passion, as if those two things could never go together.
Well, they can go together, but then they tend to die out rather quickly.
Yeah, I was going to mention. So you're referring to the bit from this is 1 Corinthians chapter 7, right?
Yeah.
And I by the way, I agreed with everything you said, except for the central thing, and that is that we should really bother ourselves with whatever Paul had written to the Corinthians in the first place. I don't really give a shit about that. But I take your point. As a believer, as a follower of Christ, you should. So fine. Let's set that aside. I think your interpretation of this particular epistle and Matt's interpretation and Matt Slick's resistance to add in things that aren't in the epistles or the Gospels. I respect both of you guys for doing that. I found, sorry, who was it? I was going to say Isaiah. That wasn't who was it? What's his name? Josiah?
Josiah.
He had in his head that you were saying something that you'd never said, and you would say, no, I didn't say that. I meant this. And then he'd go, well, but remember, you said this. And he would, no, I didn't say that. I said this. He goes, yeah, but you said this. And then he wouldn't let it go. He kept telling us what you said. That was incredibly annoying, very rude of him. The only thing that I said, do I disagree with you about this? I heard you say it, and I kind of thought, I'm going to go look it up. I don't think I agree that the expression burn with passion in Greek is, and remember, not that I'm pretending to know Greek. I don't think that it is burning in a consumptory way. It doesn't consume, like in the sense of burning with passion. It simply means to be brilliantly hot. It doesn't mean to go to completion. It means to have that desire that's unfulfilled.
Well,
That's
it
what I
means
thought.
to be like borderline uncontrollable.
Yeah, what I can do is I can give you some fascinating papers that are either medical or love poems, or just how that phrase is used. Because don't forget, a Corinthian letter that has that specific phrase alongside, when you go to chapter 11, when Paul starts talking about a woman's hair being, have specific Greek words that are associated with specific nuances of. So burning with passion, and you're right. There's this hot nature involved, but guess what? That's associated with the what they believe in cold bodies and hot bodies, in the sense of a woman being a cold body that takes in the hot, frothing nature of a male body. So what they believe was the sperm was fine, and then the male bodies, they're hot as far as temperature goes, and the hair froths the liquid sperm into like a white liquid that can congeal, and then the woman, her body's designed to suck in that frothing nature of the male body. So notice it's very erotic. So burning with passion, that phrase is used in Xenophon's letters and all those Greek letters. Something in a very formal way, erotic, an erotic way of talking.
But I think that's a different context, because, sorry, but what you're describing there from chapter 12 is actually the sexual congress. They're actually doing. What I'm trying to draw the distinction between here is the difference between doing it and thinking about doing it, right? So
it could be both. Yeah, you're right. It could be both.
Yeah, the account in chapter 12 is of actual doing it, all right? And my interpretation of the chapter 7 reference is that you're burning with passion, what you're engaged in uncontrollably is thinking about doing it, but not actually doing it. Now, I hesitate in pointing that out. I don't want to necessarily make this my hill to die on, because I remember when you said it, I thought, I think he's got that wrong. But then you made reference to other writings in Greek from that time period, other sort of what do you call it? Theatrical. And I don't know what you would be referring to there, but like say, I just, when I look at that phrase "burn with passion," to me, it doesn't seem like they're talking about doing it. What they're talking about is the unquenched, unfulfilled desire to be doing it. Let me say it this way. So let's go to verse 9. Sorry, it's not verse 9. Where is it? Where's the line to marry? It's in chapter 7, but it's in chapter
7. I'll have to open it up. But I know if you go down to around 30 something, it's
early.
It's about a male virgin and a female virgin. But earlier on, I think verse 7 or verse 9, it speaks about a widow.
It's okay. Well, wherever it is, what I interpret that to mean is it is better to marry and to just go ahead and fulfill these desires than it is to burn with passion, where burn with passion means then to not marry and to be burdened by these unfulfilled desires. That's always been my interpretation of chapter 7.
Well, see, that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now you see, Hogtie, that makes sense in the English.
Okay, well, that's my folly then.
It's soft. Trust me, it's a soft. Are very soft with these specific words, especially chapter 11, around verse 15, where Paul says that the translation says, a woman's hair is given as a substitute for, and then the translation says coverings. But parabolion means testicle in the medical text of the day. So literally, a woman's hair is given as a substitute for testicles. Because women don't have testicles, men have testicles. The hair, they believe that a woman's hair acted as a sex organ. So,
how hairy are people's testicles?
Well, Middle East.
Back in the Roman days, they had 80s bush. Does that answer it?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Do you remember the Middle Eastern friend of Kumar White Castle? Come on, Harold and Kumar. And instead of having a topless party, he had a bottomless party. And that scene where he gets out of the hot tub.
Yeah.
He's from the Middle East. What do you want? Okay, so sorry, you're saying chapter 11. So this is 1 Corinthians 11. Okay, where's the thing about the hair? I don't know what you're referring to.
Let me just open it. In fact, Shadow should remember this conversation we were having with. I think
first one of your videos I ever watched was the one that you were
talking about.
I
uploaded a video. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so this is chapter 11, verse 14 and 15. And if you're interested in this, talk to I'll link you the video I uploaded on my video.
Yeah, you're going to have to send me something. That's okay. I know which part you're talking about now, and that is not. It's talking about the length of hair and men to not. It's a shame to him if he has long hair.
It's about why women should cover their hair and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with testicles.
It doesn't seem to, but when you understand how the language works and how the terms were used at the time, it's actually a fairly solid argument that he lays out.
Really?
Basically,
why? Send me something because this will be new to this will be new to me. I'll say that.
In a nutshell, why did the women in that culture cover their heads, and why was it that prostitutes, before they do anything else, they would uncover their hair in order to express a certain, to cause a man to lust? Because when you look at the Galen medicine and Galen's literature and all that, they would use parabolion with respect to what they call the bags of flesh, which is, male.
The bags of flesh, yeah.
I know what a bag is.
And interestingly, the young girls would not cover their heads, but yet when girls reach puberty, then they would start to cover their heads. Now, again, why? And this is proven as science, but their reasoning was quite fascinating. Basically, in the medical text, the woman's hair acted like a congealing sponge. And they would ask questions, well, why are men, well, obviously you have men with penis and testicles and their body is mostly hairy, whereas a woman there's no testicles, and also the body, the skin on the body seems very like smooth and there's no hair, except you have all this hair on her head. And they already started off with the presupposition that the brain, so a female brain will be like the quote-unquote storage for the fetus, transfer down to the stomach, whereas the male brain would be the one producing the sperm.
Lyra, cover your ears, Lyra, not your head. Cover your ears for this conversation. She doesn't even know about this stuff yet.
Notice Paul starts by saying, nature teaches you. That's a phrase he's referring to the medical texts of his day. And he's basically saying men, in 1 Corinthians 11, 40. And men don't have long hair. If you have long hair, according to the medical text, you will not be fertile, because long hair on a man would retain the sperm. Whereas if you cut your hair and the sperm's able to travel down, and then hence a woman with long hair. Notice the word he says, glory. A woman's long hair is her glory. Why? Because she's going to produce life. So she's going to congeal that, and then life is developed, and so then therefore you can't just walk into a church with your hair uncovered, because then you're showing your genitalia. So you cover your head, and that's the reason.
Huh.
Would you consider that part of the text to be God inspired, or is this just what men wrote? Like, it makes this is where I get confused about the Bible, right?
Yeah, I would suggest that this is completely normal in light of inspiration, because the theological truth is still valid in the sense that you dress modestly, or you approach the throne of grace in a reverent manner.
So.
And
right, but inspired in like what do I like what how do you say, in regards to the time and the social structure.
Right.
And that's, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it's not a mechanical. So if the Bible made the claim that it's mechanically inspired, like the Quran, basically every letter is what Allah thinks is universally true for all time, yeah, then you have a good point in saying, well, that's wrong, because that's not these are produced.
No, I actually think, like, I think the way you said it, that makes sense. Like, I can see how that could be God inspired and still sort of be written by, you know, like sort of very specific to the time and stuff. I guess I just find then
he was inspired by God, but that doesn't mean he knew what the fuck he was talking about.
well, it also it just I guess the question then becomes relevance, right? Like, because I mean, I understand the relevance because if you apply it today, but then so much interpretation is required. That's all, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to share, Hogtie, I'm going to give you my YouTube video, and also I'm going to give you some scholarly peer-reviewed papers about this too, from Troy Martin. I'll sit in the slide chat.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that, because I'm trying to read the interlinear Greek here, and I'm painfully aware of the fact I don't read Greek, so it doesn't really help.
Trust me,
there's some scholar that
I'm not one for sharing non-scholarly stuff. So you can trust.
There's a good.
There's a bit of a pause here. So I just want to ask a really sort of irrelevant question. Why do women have to wear dresses in church and not pants? Like, what is it about pants that is that more sexual? Like, I don't understand this. Anyone?
It's dressing like a man, I'd assume.
Yes.
Really?
Under some interpretations.
Because I was always told it was immodest to wear pants. And I'm like, but if I'm wearing a dress and I'm climbing up the outside of the stairs on the rails like all the other boys, and you can look up my dress, isn't that more immodest than if I were wearing pants?
That reminds me of something that's actually horrible that actually exists, which is if you go to the Midtown Mall in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
Which I've done.
Yeah, there is a bench underneath each of the escalators. And in the summer, you will just see a bunch of teenage boys sitting there looking at.
Oh, man.
Oh, Saskatchewan. Oh, my God.
Well, not all churches are that way.
No, I wouldn't suggest all churches are that way.
Well, just the fact that the distinction is being drawn at all.
Yeah, the one that I grew up in, nobody ever explained to me why I had to wear a dress. I was always called out for it.
Jerry Seinfeld's got a point. Really, we just got to get to that point in the future where we're just all wearing one-piece jumpsuits, preferably silver, something shiny.
Because
I was talking about this with my wife the other day. A lot of even when women do wear pants, it's a very progressive thing nowadays. It's pretty common for women to wear pants. But how many pockets you got? And like, I know that you have in your house somewhere a pair of pants that has the stitching of a pocket, but if you go to put your hand in, there's actually no pocket. It's just the little hem part of the pocket. Yeah. And then even when there are actually pockets, they're not even half the depth of men's pockets.
Mm-hmm.
There's two reasons for that, actually.
Oh, there's reasons. Okay.
Yeah.
Go.
One is women have purses to carry their stuff in. And the second is men need deeper pockets to scratch themselves.
Yes, it's functional.
I know, actually. So yeah, actually, the first time that I borrowed a pair of my husband's pants, his jeans, and I put them on, and I put my hands in the pockets, I'm like, holy shit!
It's luxurious.
My whole life.
I can touch everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I was surprised.
When we're just sitting there on the bus, man, you have no idea what the hell we're doing.
Yeah. Were you surprised that one of the pockets was actually just the bottom was just cut out, so it's open?
They weren't. But
your husband do that too?
There's a name for that. No, there's a name for that. I can't remember. What the hell is that called?
I think I can explain the dress thing. I think I can. I just thought of it. I think I can explain the dress thing.
Okay.
Now, if you go to bend a woman over to fuck her on the altar and she's wearing a dress, she can still keep covered.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so pajamas with a bum flap would be also.
Yeah. As long as you can keep it covered. Yeah. This is my
Lyra,
story,
I
and I'm
want you to
sticking with
totally
it.
ignore the last 20 minutes of this hangout, okay,
That
please?
paints it.
There's a problem with your idea there, Shadow, which is altar boys tend to wear pants under their robes.
Yeah, but they're still wearing those robes, aren't they?
My hangouts always take a turn for the worse after about the third hour.
You can blame this one on me.
Well, there is something where if I have evangelicals ask me like, "Oh, how were you raised if you were a Christian?" And I say, "Well, I was raised Ukrainian Catholic," and they all kind of look at me like, "Oh, something happened to you with the priest." No, nothing happened. So
Well, the
I
worst
do like to joke about that.
The worst that happens in the Ukrainian Catholic Church is that you got to eat all the once the food's been blessed. You got to eat it all. You can't throw it in the garbage.
Yeah.
It's just you and me laughing at that. Don't worry, it's okay. Nobody else has to find it funny.
There is an interesting thing about it, which is the masses are done in Ukrainian, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the people who go to the mass don't actually speak any Ukrainian at all, but just out of habit, once the mass starts, they will both be able to speak Ukrainian and tell you what it is they're saying accurately.
Uh-huh.
After the mass, they forget it. So to hell with that speaking in tongue at the Pentecostalist churches. This is an actual language that people are speaking, and they actually understand it, even though it's not their native tongue and they can't actually speak it fluently unless they're doing it.
Well, there are lots of places that do. Like we have large stretches of places here where there's still people that speak Ukrainian, and they get what's going on at mass.
A lot of my family in Winnipeg still speaks Ukrainian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's nice. What is it? The Christmas mass is like middle of February or something. That's
Yes.
nice. It's a good change of pace.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
Christmas is
Christmas is on January
6th.
Oh, I'm exaggerating.
Well, Christmas Eve is 6th. Yeah.
I'm exaggerating. So what?
Because we celebrate January 6th.
You don't have to exaggerate how long the masses go for, though. Jesus Christ. If you go to a wedding, it's a 6-hour mass.
Yeah.
I never understood this whole speaking in tongues thing, and the weird baby talk shit. I always thought if you were speaking in tongues, you'd just be speaking your own language, and everyone else would understand you. That's what made sense to me. It's
You know what
weird.
makes even less sense with speaking in tongues is that, like, when I was growing up, I heard stories about like how we know that it's legitimate because, like, in one case, a woman was speaking in tongues, but the woman in front of her, who was Spanish, understood everything she was saying because it was all in Spanish. And I'm like, well, that's not tongues, that's Spanish.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't understand. Like,
Well,
so I used to
speaking in
hear-
tongues is you're speaking in a language that you wouldn't
Sure.
otherwise have known. And they
Sure.
actually think that they're speaking an actual language. And when people actually studied it and showed that this isn't any existing language.
This
or
is
extinct
bullshit.
language.
Hello, that's not speaking
You're just
in tongues,
making
that's speaking
noises.
Spanish.
There was actually a group of people who said, no, we're speaking Enochian.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I learned to speak in tongues because everybody did, and there was so much pressure put on me. I had to do it, you know?
I literally
So
was just
eventually
about
you
to ask.
do it.
Right after the doctor had said something about, we were still talking about the Ukrainian Catholic thing. And I was going to say, Doctor and Shar, have either of you ever even seen someone speak in tongues? Because
Oh, I can still do it.
My
Yeah,
aunt
really.
does it daily.
Yeah.
I was going to make the case that Canadians just don't see this happen.
No,
Heathens brought it up, and I was going to say we don't even see this stuff. So really,
Yeah. There's probably four pretty big churches in Calgary where people speak in tongues.
I want to hear this. Go ahead.
Like what? Like
I
just
know.
like Jean-Marie is Romar, like it's just gibberish.
I understood all that. Yeah.
It's
you know what?
nothing.
It's still, what's funny is it still made more sense than Trumpism.
Well, yeah, it's just
Maybe that's what it is.
gibberish, right? And I haven't done it in a really long time. So, like, you actually, like, when you learn to do it, you emulate what you hear, right? So, like, it changes over time. Like honestly, I don't know.
Steve, Midway through my last stroke, I made more sense than true empiricism. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I am out of practice, but there was a time when I was really
bad,
good at
actually.
it. Well, I mean, it's just, but it is just gibberish.
It's a learned behavior.
Yeah, it is. It's a learned behavior.
Absolutely, it is.
Speaking in tongues was actually like the trigger moment for my younger brother that caused him to like start actually like questioning religion and the existence of God, because we were a part of this production out in Bellevue that was called Jesus Lives, and it was just the gospel story acted out when we had this big revolving stage. I was one of the stage managers, and my brother got to play the young Jesus when he was like 13 years old, going to the temple, and gets separated from Mary and Joseph and all that. And after the production, this woman comes up and says, "Oh, will you want to pray with me?" And he says, "Yes." And she just like grabs his head and just starts speaking utter gibberish with one hand raised in the air. And she's like, "And now you, let the power of the Holy Spirit come over you." And he was just standing there afraid.
And he's there not covered in the white sauce.
Yeah. And he just went, Barla, Ashabadeda. And then he ran away from her as fast as he could. And after that, he was like looking up stuff about speaking in tongues, and that led him to looking into other religions and stuff. And now he's an atheist.
I saw a great video about speaking in tongues where people might remember this one clip, and it's Kenneth Copeland and somebody else. And the two of them are at the front of the congregation, and it's like one of them says something, and the other one is like laughs and then says something, and it's clear that they're having a conversation where they understand each other, but it's also clear that it's all bullshit. And one of them, like at one point, they're like telling each other jokes, and like one like slaps his knee because the other guy said something so funny. Did anybody remember that clip? I'm ruining this. Somebody put me in a YouTube video where they showed that, and then he also showed another famous viral video that was going around at the time, which was the two twin toddlers. They might have been a year and a half or 2 years old, like when they're up and walking and still in diapers, but they don't actually talk. And the two twin brothers that were standing in the kitchen, and they're going blah 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 blah. And then the kid waves his arms and goes blah 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 blah. And this person just made this YouTube video that just interleaved those two clips together, which were both fairly famous at the time, and it was so funny. Like, my retelling of it kills it, of course, but
that's okay.
What your retelling brought to mind was the Tommy Hall fake video. Tommy Hall starts reading off all these things, and just the word fake keeps popping up, and then it cuts away to a man who's literally making a tinfoil hat.
Tommy's had a couple of, he used to be, well, he's less active now. He had a couple of funny ones. His thing where he did an impression of, was it Blue is Blue As, what's his name? He was in here tonight, wasn't he? Tommy did Blue, yeah. Tommy did a pretty good thing, with the banjo and talking about, I can't remember, someone had changed his clothes for a while, and it was pretty good.
You have to go murder one of the dogs. Good grief.
Well, anyways, I think Mr. Intelligent just couldn't figure out how to get in here. He said his account was.
Somebody calls himself Mr. Intelligent and can't get to a hangout.
Maybe he's blocked or something.
Well, he said it's been suspended. Although I don't understand that, because he's able to get. Yeah, I mean, I gave him the link. I mean, he was able to get into the outside feed, so clearly his account worked. But he says every time to join the hangout, it kept coming with an error message saying that your account was suspended. So I don't know, but he'll try again Friday. So we'll see.
Okay, fine now.
Oh, this guy's going to get obliterated. I mean, I'm serious. I'm not even joking. He's just way the fuck out there. But, I asked some of the people, I said, should I give this guy a form or not? And they're like, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So go ahead, whatever.
Are there any links to like his arguments?
Yeah, you can go to, I'll give you one link and you kind of go from there. How's that sound?
That works. Really, do I need more than one?
But has his real name, and then you can go to Amazon.
Where he's coming from.
There we go.
Let's see here. I can find the before grief. Where did I put
Yeah,
it?
Hogtie, if the link, especially start of the 2004 paper, because he gives you a perspective of how the word was used first before it became known as covering.
I started with the 2013 paper just because it was
That's
lower
a
on the
response.
That's what he's responding to Mark Goodacre, so I got to go back and read the first one.
Yeah. So notice something interesting about the publishing dates. So 2004 was the original paper.
Yeah.
Then I think it was 2009 or 2011 that Mark Goodacre responds. It takes that long. This stuff takes, to investigate. And then he responded in 2013. So this is a serious issue.
Well, I've got both of Troy Martin's papers up on the screen here now. I'll read them in the correct order.
Hey, well, I'm looking at for you. Have you guys ever heard of this guy, Quantum Eraser?
Not yet. I have a feeling I'm bound to.
He comes from the Flat Earth group, and wow.
Oh, never mind. I won't hear about it then. Good
So
grief.
bad. Just one of you ran into him.
Nah, I'm sure Red will come across him eventually.
Everything wrong.
Yeah, I'll direct him to his Rhetoric's channel, and then eventually he'll get his.
Well,
dues.
he's been there. Yeah, he's
okay.
Do you ever just realize when you haven't been paying attention to the live chat, you're like, I should probably go look at that, and then you just sort of, oh, there's been a lot of messages. Well, I'm just going to scroll up and just see what's been. Well, to be fair, Apologia, the word long, like incest, is a relative term. What the fuck was
the
said
random
before?
crap, yeah.
Yeah, what was said before that to make that make sense? And then you start getting look. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Well, right before that, somebody else had said.
It's a very, very bad dad pun.
Long, like incest is a relative term.
Relative.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not strong with the puns, but okay, I got you. I always show my genitalia in church. Wait, what? Why?
They were talking about the hair thing.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, somebody typed haughty. I'm presuming they mean hogtie.
Hoggy.
Yeah, haughty is the most common way people misspell my name. Either hogtied.
It's a term of
haughty.
endearment. Hoggy.
And it's funny because they always type it capital H, lowercase o-t, and then capital T-I-E.
Fiona calls you Hoggles. That's so cute.
Hoggles, yeah. Hogtie was talking with Matt Slick about masturbation. Trevor Lund, that is not the case. That was General Han Solo, and I don't know who else was in the room. That was somebody
These
else.
were from hours ago. They're far beyond relevant.
They're
now.
going, okay, no, I just saying I've not had that conversation with Matt Slick.
Can I read this off while you're looking at the live feed? Quote, Edgar A. Prostrato, which is the guy, Mr. Intelligent Design, was born in the Philippines in 1966 with a civil engineering degree from National University, Manila. He discovered the real intelligent design, the real intelligence. What?
Steve, I'm starting to do that. You can start reading it from the beginning again, but I got to point out this is awful writing. Edgar Prostrato, was born in the Philippines, 1966, with civil engineering degree. Is that
he came into existence? He had a degree already when he was born. He's like
Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu was born already.
He's that smart. He actually was born with that degree. I mean, he didn't.
They tattooed it on his forehead right out of the womb.
No, he came out holding it. That's what happened.
You know what?
This is how poor the education system is. You're born, they take out the stamper, stamp you on the head. They don't have to put you to school that way.
Yeah, but you know what? It's engineering. It's civil engineering. So I mean, come on.
Oh, I guess that doesn't really count.
Yeah,
that's what it says. I'm reading it off verbatim. Edgar A. Prostrato was born in the Philippines with civil engineering degree from National University of Manila. So he was born with a civil engineering degree. That's interesting.
Yeah.
He discovered the real intelligent design, the real quote intelligence, and its exclusive nature, discoverer and promoter, a biological interrelation theory replacement to theory of evolution, promoter of the new powerful categorization method in naturalistic science, discoverer of the new untestable theory of intelligence, and solver or giver to some of the most unsolved mysteries in the naturalistic sciences, like origins topics like physics, biology, psychology, philosophy, mathematics, religion, etc. He is the most narcissistic, uneducated piece of shit I have ran across in a very long time. I've read it. I've been reading some of the excerpts from what these people have written. Holy
and this is why I decided not to just say fuck it in EPUB, and I'm trying to get an agent because I don't want to be associated with these EPUB dipshits like this. God,
oh God, oh dude, read his comments. I mean, read the comments on his book. Oh my God, they're fucking a riot. Here, let me see if I can here. Let me read some of them. Yeah, first one. This is a random book. This is on his book. Called Biology of Intelligent Design, Kindle. Edgar Prostrato has absolutely no idea what he is talking about. He has made no discoveries in biology. Indeed, he has no idea whatsoever what evolution is or how it works. This is from the man who also claims to be an expert in physics, psychology, philosophy, engineering, and now apparently biology. And that the only reason his work has been turned down by every professional institute is the actual scientists simply didn't understand his work. Yes, that's right. The reason why he's been rejected for peer review repeatedly is because he's just too smart for other scientists. This book is utterly lacking in anything resembling logic or coherent thought. The grammar is awful, and the syntax renders whatever point he's trying to argue barely understandable. He goes around Amazon, Goodreads, and YouTube, hawking his terrible books and attacking anyone and insulting anyone who criticizes him. Do not buy this book under any circumstances whatsoever.
Here's a good one, actually.
Go ahead.
Have you think about these before opening the book? Such was one of the sentences in the very first paragraph of this book. It's a fairly accurate indicator of what's to come.
You know, I mean, I'll grant that he's from the Philippines. He lives in Japan. Maybe these aren't his native languages.
No, sure.
I get that. But I mean, when you make a book, you have somebody proofread your shit, right?
Especially before they translate it.
Yeah.
No, he speaks English. I mean, watch his videos. He speaks English.
You know, I love this review. This review says, utterly absent of any form of thought or logic. Even if this book were readable, it would still have nothing of worth inside. Unfortunately, like the rest of his work, it isn't readable. A self-published ebook because no publishing company would accept the awful grammar and syntax. This book contains logic so astounding in its utter absence, it almost becomes a work of art. A really, really bad work of art. But you know what I love about it? Is that 3 people found that review helpful.
The kicker is that from the sounds of it, Beasley did a better book.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he's got better reviews than Beasley and Shelley.
Wow.
Oh God, this is like this is new territory.
I'm almost tempted to buy the book now.
It's art.
You don't want to buy it. There has to be a way to just...
There has to be a free version.
Almost incomprehensible, written by a semi-literate buffoon. Although the author tortures the English language, he unfortunately does not force it to reveal anything. Let's see here.
Wait, is it on Kindle or
Kindle? Read Amazon. Reading this book, if you care to call it that, will leave you less intelligent than when you started. This should be sold along toilet paper, since they both serve the same purpose.
If he went for the if he went for the higher plateau for royalties, which I imagine he probably did, he's required to actually make it periodically a free download, so you can put it on a watch list.
Yeah, no, it says read for free.
There you go.
But this one is, let's see, what's this called? This is called the New Intelligent Design. Let's see if I can, I don't know. You have to have I don't have a Kindle account, but somebody I'm sure will be able to find it. Yeah, the guys. So if you guys want a Kindle account, it's called Biology of Intelligent Design by Edgar Prostrato. But it's one of like 6 books he has, and they're all just completely hand.
I love this from the author. Now, even until today, no one had ever understood my new discoveries. I am looking also for a scientist, the most famous one, lol, with an exclamation mark, but the most intellectual one who could understand my new discoveries and help me share my new discoveries to the world and be understood. At the end, I will become very rich and famous.
Wow.
This guy's deluded. This is what I'm saying. I mean, I didn't know if I wanted to have
His
him
head
on.
is
He's
so
goddamn
far up his
delusional.
own ass, he sees the back of his head.
Yeah.
Like,
He might be a bigger narcissist than Trump. Nah.
let's make this guy a YouTube sensation. See if
I love
Trump
this one.
mentions
This is
him.
my favorite. Execrable drivel by a complete total ignoramus of the lowest order. That's so yeah. So anyways, he might be joining us. Sorry, I know it's bottom of the barrel shit, but I just the lulls.
Despite his genius, he can't figure out how an application on his computer works.
This reminds me of a conversation I had several years ago when on the first time I'd referenced that I'd written a book. And somebody's like, oh, did you write a book on atheism? And I said, fuck no, I wrote sci-fi. Who the hell wants to write about this shit? Apparently, idiots like this guy. Oh, my word.
Well, there's some money to be had in it. I mean, if you can write a book that you can put in a Christian bookstore, you're going to make more money on it than you would on one.
Well, I've been trying to, but not like just about atheism or anything. It's largely tied into the idea that Hogtie pitched a couple months back. Which is basically Logan's Run meets the Matrix.
Cool.
But at that point, you're getting into fiction. That's fun. There's a point to that. You can entertain.
There's an underlying theme of it, is what
Yeah.
goes home. But it's fiction. I'm not going to sit down and go, "Here's why I don't believe in God." No,
fuck that.
That's boring.
Yeah, you can sum that up on like the cover page or something. Then make something good and interesting.
Wow, that's just yeah. I mean, it's so funny because I mean, right across the board, everybody's had the same kind of observations of this guy, right? I mean, even on this videos that he has, people are commenting the exact same thing that I said to him. I'm like, look at you. You haven't even come up with a hypothesis yet. Do you not understand how science works?
But Steve, what you don't understand is that this is new and testable.
But he hasn't given anything about it.
He hasn't given anything to test.
It's nude and testicle? What?
But the other video, hey Doc, I want you to watch this one when you get a chance. We might do a hangout on it. Let me put it in the live feed or the inside feed. This is a video that somebody did on Dr. Schweitzer's video. It's by a person named Cathaxis.
Oh God.
It's so awful. It's so bad. Are you familiar with him?
Yes.
Okay. He is literally scientifically almost worse than Ronnie. There are so many things that he tried to do a decent job as far as like timestamp and the problem. But if you look at everything he pointed out, he's grossly misunderstanding anything in the hangout.
No, the guy is a walking example of what it would mean to be scientifically illiterate.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was like, are you serious? He wrote me a very long email. It was really nice in the email. Said, hey, I made this video. I want you to check it out. See what you think, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. And I got about 9 minutes in. And Ruhiv watched it as well about the same time, about 9 or 10 minutes in. And we were like, is this a joke? Is what? I mean, it was so wrong on so many different levels.
For reference, it's an hour 58. You got 2 hours to put into it.
I didn't know. I didn't finish it. I'm not gonna lie. I got
struggling at 9 minutes.
I was struggling about 10 minutes.
If I wanted to, I could make my entire office suffer through that.
It's just he misrepresents everybody's arguments. He doesn't understand logical fallacies. He throws things out like they're water. Oh, this is begging the question. Oh, this is a reunification fallacy. I'm like, you obviously don't know what any of these fallacies are because you're using them grossly incorrectly.
And then he made 35 sock accounts and thumbed himself up 35 times.
No, I guess he has some people that actually like
Don't
it.
throw that accusation around casually.
I know. No, I'm not. But
hey, Steve, how many sock accounts do you have?
You want to see it again? I'll show it again.
You'll end up being like Suzuki Dawes, who apologized to Ronnie for saying that, or you'll end up being like Ronnie, who did exactly the same thing to Steve and didn't apologize for it.
Or G-Man. G-Man didn't apologize either, though he's like agreeing with. Yeah, he's agreeing fully with Ronnie, but he doesn't. Won't give any evidence. He said at least he said I have no evidence to support it. Well,
how does
I even said on my daughter's life I have 1 sock account. Why would I lie about that?
I have 5 accounts, but none of them are socks.
Why does it matter?
Well,
if you have a bunch of sock accounts, you're downvoting all these videos. how's that any different from all the atheists who are downvoting his videos anyways?
Yeah, and we have hundreds of people that voted for Ronnie for Dumb Fuck of the Year. He thinks that really my making a bunch of sock accounts, which I never made for that, would have any effect. No.
He's funny. He's all Trump about it too, because he's glad he won the award, right? He predicted he was going to, and he was going to make this video, and he's glad he won it because it puts his spotlight on the dishonesty, blah blah blah. But then it's also he's insisting that there were a bunch of illegal aliens voting for Dumb Fuck of the Year, or whatever his theory is. I don't know what his theory is.
Yeah, that's it. Illegal aliens voted for Ronnie for Dumb Fuck of the Year.
The question is, what planet are these aliens from?
Well, I guess G-Man's going to have his own video, own award.
All I can say is damn you, Hogtie, for mentioning that. Because
have, like,
what I've been doing is I've been piecing together all the dumb fuckery that I've run across and just like saving the clips into relevant like sections of video that I'll send to Reds later.
How many terabytes of hard drives did you have to buy?
I have quite a bit of memory, actually.
But I'll tell you what, if I win an award from G-Man, I'll be happy. I mean, yeah. I mean, he's sitting there saying in that video
what
that
Hogtie just said would have made like the greatest voting video if True Empiricism could win 2 years in a row.
Oh, God. I wish he could, but he can't. But like I said, I'd be happy if G-Man gives me an award because it's completely irrelevant to me. But the funniest thing is I even sat there and I said, hey, G-Man, why don't you bring Ronnie? I'll sit here right now with Drax Hangout with you and Ronnie. And I'll have a discussion with both of you. Nope, want to do it. They're so fixated on this formal debate, and I made it very clear. Why am I going to waste 2 weeks of my life having preparing for a debate when these guys don't even watch the debates that I've had?
Steve, I have the perfect solution for you, Steve. Accept a debate, a formal debate with G-Man, but argue like G-Man. In other words, don't prepare. Just throw out fallacies and yell at him a lot. It'll be awesome.
Fallacies. G-Man, you're begging the question. G-Man, you're begging the question.
Years ago, he kept challenging me to a debate, and I kept insisting that it be on whether whether Polywhirl has 666 on his chest or not.
That was funny.
And he kept fucking accepting it and then never getting back to me.
I tell you what, though, I will do this because just because it's a new year. I always said I'll have like a discussion with Ronnie on my channel, which is fine, but he's too much of a cow to come into my room. But I'll tell you what, if you pick the moderator, Hogtie, General, any member of the Clown Car Posse, I don't care who it is, Shar, Shadow, whatever, Doctor, whatever.
I'm in the Clown Car Posse?
No, anybody other. Pay attention.
Uh-oh.
Well, heck, we could get Shannon now because apparently she's an atheist.
Well, I like Shannon for Christ.
But according to G-Man, she's an atheist.
According to G-Man,
any channel he wants to pick that's not a Clown Car Posse member, I'll be happy to have a discussion with Ronnie and point out his whole problem with ETC, his whole problem with DNA degrading in water. Be happy to. So I'm throwing it out there right now. Pick a channel. I don't care. I mean, I only did it because it pissed Ronnie off for so long, and I learned from my mistakes that every time I offered to debate him, he just kind of like pissed in the wind and changed the term. So I'll just really say this. Yeah, go ahead. Pick a channel you want. I'll have a discussion with him. There's nothing. Can
I say that last video he did, or whatever last one of his I've seen? I don't watch them all of his because it's just the same whining all the time. But I did catch the one where he'd mentioned he was playing clips from Hangouts. So I'm not sure which video I'm referring to here, but it was one of the recent ones he did, one of his recent wine fests. But Steve, he did slip in the thing about how, oh well, listen to Steve like Dodge having a debate with me, and he plays like a half a sentence from you, like where you say, no, I'm not going to do a debate with you. And of course, left out the entire context that he had agreed to a debate under those conditions, and then he changed the conditions, and then he insisted that he had to do it a certain way, and then you went into his room and talked to him about it, and then finally you're like, no, it's not working out. It's not, I'm not going to get into a thing with a guy that, yeah, he'll agree to this, and then 5 minutes later he's not going to. It's not working, so no, I'm not going to do it. Right? He doesn't.
Exactly what happened. That's about it.
Yeah, and he takes that half a sentence where you say, no, we're not doing this. And, oh, look at, I have proof that Steve's running away. Like, come on. But certainly,
better
Steve,
yet, taking half a sentence of a physicist saying with whether or not degrade and dissolve mean the same thing. Just saying.
I've asked him about this before. I know we keep bringing it up, but I've asked him before, and he still doesn't give a coherent explanation. But if I think now, I would ask him a little bit different question. So yeah, sure. If he wants to go into anybody's room and and discuss these things,
Just
or
not his
about
own, yeah.
or about the oxygen, because he was wrong on that. I'll be happy to discuss it with him on that. I mean, I made a video on the ATC. Of course, I can talk about it.
Just not his own and not G-Man's, but yeah. You know, the funniest thing about that too, when he was like, "Oh, these two scientists agreed with me word for word."
Oh God.
Word for word. The first time he did it, you notice how he went. He said, "Oh well, look how they asked the one scientist this question," and it was Hugh Ross, and he says, "Well, I don't really see much of a difference. That is, what's the difference? You know, is degrade and dissolve?" He goes, "I don't really see much of a difference." And then he like plays the loop. "I don't see much of a difference." Right. And then he says, and both scientists agreed word for word with what I was saying, and you know that because this one scientist said, "I don't see much of a difference," and the other scientist was nodding like he was agreeing.
He
Really,
was not.
really, Roddy. Really, Roddy, you couldn't have just played 5 more seconds of a clip where the other scientist, who is Dr. Rana, said, "No, Doctor," I'm paraphrasing, "No, Dr. Ross, you fucked that up." Dr. Ross, you fucked that up. It's actually this. But no, Ronnie's got the clip right in front of him. He just has to let it run for 5 seconds. Instead, he takes 20 seconds to describe. You notice his nodding. Do you see how he's nodding? Look how he's nodding while the other guy's talking.
When I brought that to Dr. Rana's attention, he's just like, "Oh, fun." He's like, he wasn't a big surprise. He's like, "Yeah, you know, I think he knows that people do this to them all the time." But I did point out to him that this guy Ronnie was like totally twisting what he's saying. He's like, so.
You know, I've got to say this. I'm really, really disappointed with the Clown Car Posse. Their ability to edit videos is so crap and so shoddy. I mean, let's face it, with the amount of content that Steve has on his damn channel at this point, if I wanted to make it seem like he was singing "I'm a Little Teapot," I probably could by now.
No shit, I got 350 videos. By the way, Hawkeye, I mean...
You know, you just gave me, like, what I'm going to do for my weekend now.
He's never actually said teapot, though.
Yeah, I'm a little teapot. I'll start off.
There we go.
You guys have heard how when goats sing the Christmas carols, right?
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, like, if you have to just get them screaming different words at different pitches, and then we could...
You know, again, I've had a hit or miss about the voice that I use, that program. I like it. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna lie. I actually like it. Some people really think it's easier to listen to. Some people don't like it. Really weird. I think the British are the ones that have the most problem with it because, you know, they like a real British accent. But Hawkeye, you saw it. I mean, I didn't want to get into too much detail, but did at least get the point across that Ronnie was just
yes, but it was fucking irritating.
You really think so?
It was fucking irritating to listen to. I'm sorry, but it was.
Okay.
It may be a matter of taste. I would prefer an actual readout. I know doing the read through, scripting and doing a read through is actually a lot more work. It takes a lot more editing. It's just a lot more time. Because if you're doing it with the voice, you just edit the text.
Well, no, actually, I have to disagree. Doing with the voice is a lot more difficult because when I write the script, putting it into the program that I would do the voice, it doesn't pronounce things right. So I actually have to go in and I have to phonetically.
You have to edit phonetically, yeah. I just
get a copy of Audacity and do the read and make the edits as you have to.
I do use Audacity for this stuff.
Yeah. But in terms of the content, I do think the point was made. I mean, now I'll make public the bit of feedback I'd given you initially was I think that the concern. I mean, you got to think of who your target audience is too. I mean, in a way, there's no way that G-Man would watch that video and go, "Oh, I see. Steve's got all the evidence that Ronnie was wrong and deceptive while he was being wrong." Obviously, it doesn't matter how you cut the video. G-Man's never going to get that message. So,
come on, G-Man will never watch the video. It's not on G-Man's channel, so he won't watch it.
No, he's a big consumer. He
watch videos.
Yeah, he really likes to arm himself and as well armed as he can be, and he also really enjoys seething, right? Like there's some people who are addicted to being pissed off at things, just like you can be addicted to cigarettes or heroin or whatever else. And G-Man's one of those guys. Like he never misses a Jacqueline Glenn video because he hates what she says. Right?
And she's a white woman.
I don't think that's it. I think it's a matter of she has a large audience, so he's going to try and comment to shit to see if he can get her engaged with him. Yeah, because he's just trying to draw people to his shit.
Yeah, what's funny is he's had more exposure than I've ever had. Right? He's been on the Drunken Peasants. Oh, hang on one sec. Oh, I just got into an RBG group. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to go here, guys, in a few minutes. So let's wrap this up.
You got invited to an LGBT group? What
Yeah,
did you
no,
say?
no, RBG.
Oh,
Oh, what group?
But anyways, I'm gonna have to wrap this up, guys, because I gotta use the Discord, go on Discord to lead this group. Oh wait, never mind. Ah, shit. Okay, never mind. Anyways,
already? Wow, that was quick.
yeah, they said their DC came back, the disconnect. So
okay. Can we answer the question in the live chat first? Because I have it myself.
So I still gotta hand it to me anyways. Go ahead.
Eulogy says, "Hey, Hunter, G-Man had a meltdown again today," and then Hunter Bailey is asking, "Oh, I didn't see it. Where would I find it?" Is that the one on Drag's channel?
What now?
Somebody else answer. Steve wasn't listening.
I wasn't listening. I will. Please let me
The
know.
meltdown kind of spilled over from Drag's channel.
We're looking for the March 1st G-Man meltdown. Where would an interested person in the live chat find it?
The latter half of Dragnot's channel and the first half of G-Man's channel.
Oh, it's split across 2 hangouts.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how if he just really always likes to be pissed off, or how much is just purely feigned outrage for entertainment purposes.
See, yeah, like, I mean, you read he had a meltdown today. I read G-Man had a hangout today.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think he had a meltdown today. No.
Okay. Well, I
think he had an inarticulate argument, and he got his ass handed to him by me in a discussion in Drag's room.
But he had one of his usual temper tantrums, didn't he?
He wasn't that bad.
Okay, well, have I got it covered here? So here are the last 3 things I downloaded. Steve versus G-Man. Do you support the Keef? That was from Drag's channel. Yeah. And then the many reasons why atheism is a joke, all caps, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. That's got to be from G-Man's channel because of the... and then, so those 2 were today.
Okay, someone needs to debate G-Man on that, and they have to argue from the perspective that atheism isn't a joke, but constantly make jokes.
So you're saying that it would have to be an atheist.
Accepted.
All the way through. There you go.
So it would have to be an atheist because we all know Christians aren't funny.
Well, maybe. That could be one of the jokes.
There's a potholder 54
bring it up again. I think Sokka had the best argument of all time. Basically, hey, G-Man, you only believe in one God. Well, actually, I think G-Man actually now believes in multiple gods. He's actually said that. I think he's a polytheist.
When I was showing you saw what I was screen sharing earlier, didn't you?
No, I'm talking big G God. There's a whole bunch of little G gods. Those are different. What?
Well, then it destroys his own argument then. Yeah. But I mean, if somebody says, "Hey, G, there's a lot of gods you don't believe in. Well, atheists don't believe in those other gods either, and they just have one more God they don't believe in other than the one you do." I mean, not other than, but the one God you don't believe in, that's the additional God that they don't believe in. How complicated is that to understand?
But you think you're your own God. Because apparently whoever is your proverbial final authority equals God? Yeah.
I don't know how he gets... I don't know how they get from A to B to Z.
Well, apparently, right here, as I'm showing, G-Man does say that you can be a Christian and be a polytheist.
Really?
Yep. So his whole criticism against Catholics has gone out the window.
Yeah.
Not to say that, not to concede that Catholics are polytheists, but yeah, it's just patter for them. They have to accuse the Catholics of being polytheists.
I have a lot of people watching. I'm just going to mute, and you guys want to continue? Do you guys want to continue, or I don't want to do this abruptly to you guys.
I theoretically should call it at some point, but
are we voting? Yeah, because I'm ready for bed.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it, guys. I think that this was a fun day today. I really did enjoy that conversation. I know it was with G-Man. I know people say, "Oh, I'm masochistic," but I mean, it was trivial. I'm not going to say I put much effort into that. I was actually playing the game at the same time. I was having a conversation with him. I mean, this wasn't that of importance to me because he was just so wrong on so many different levels. Then he goes in his own hangout and just continuously misrepresents me. But anyways, we'll continue more on another day. I am going to end this because, again, I've got people calling me. So anyways, thank you guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow.